Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Well, on this Tuesday, we're going back to Sunday, August 27th, 1961, for the last two shows in the golden age of radio. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Mandel Kramer, and Suspense. Kermit Murdock stars in an episode called Sold to Satan. Then we'll also step back to 1945 for an episode of The Whistler, an episode of Jeff Regan Investigator starring Frank Graham, and another episode in Superman. That's all coming up on this Tuesday. This is the 27th day of August, 240th day of the year, 126 days remaining. Petroleum discovered in Titusville, Pennsylvania on this date in 1859, the world's first successful oil well. The automobile division of Toyota Automatic Loom Works spun off into the Toyota Motor Company on this date in 1937. On this date in 1962, Mariner 2 launched to Venus.
New dimensions were added to man's understanding of space with the successful voyage of Mariner 2. The mission? To put a satellite within looking distance of the planet Venus, some 30 million miles away. A navigation problem which would defy solution without today's electronic computers. For this interception, the Mariner could not take the straight line distance between 2 points, rather a long curving orbit covering 182 million miles and taking 109 days. The Air Force Atlas, teamed with the Agena space vehicle, carried the Mariner to the departure point in deep space. The trip began at 2:35 in the morning on August 28th. The Agena was placed in Earth orbit by the Atlas, and at the proper time, the Agena kicked Mariner into its long arching trail. Its course was corrected shortly thereafter, and on the afternoon of December 14th, the electronic eyes and ears of Mariner scanned Venus from a distance of 21,000 miles, flashing the facts to Earth by means of a high-pitched radio signal. The NASA-developed Mariner 2 was an unqualified success in the conquest of space and scientific exploration.
NASA audio of that first successful flyby of Venus. It launched on this date in 1962. The Florida Department of Transportation decided to cease producing its distinctive colored U.S. highway shields in 1993 so it could make use of federal funds for those signs. 2003, Mars made its closest approach to Earth in nearly 60,000 years, passing about 34,646,000 miles from Earth. The first six-party talks involving South and North Korea, the U.S., China, Japan, and Russia convened on this date in 2003 to find a peaceful resolution to the security concerns of the North Korean nuclear weapons program. In 2006, Comair Flight 5191 crashed on takeoff from Bluegrass Airport in Lexington, Kentucky, bound for Hartsfield, Jacksonville, and Atlanta International Airport in Atlanta. Here's an eyewitness.
A flash of light, and then the explosion, and then just a big plume of smoke come up.
Of the passengers and crew, 49 of 50 confirmed dead in the hours following the crash. Only the second captain survived. Atlanta Falcons quarterback Michael Vick pled guilty on this date in 2007 to a federal dogfighting charge. In 2008, Senator Barack Obama of Illinois, nominated for president by the Democrat National Convention in Denver.
America, we are better than these last 8 years. We are a better country than this. Tonight I say to the people of America, to Democrats and Republicans and independents across this great land, enough! I will stop giving tax breaks to companies that ship jobs overseas. I will set a clear goal as president. In 10 years, we will finally end our dependence on oil from the Middle East.
At the time, Senator Barack Obama of Illinois, who would later become President Obama. on this date in 2008. 2011, Hurricane Irene struck the U.S. East Coast, killing 47 and causing an estimated $15.6 billion in damage. Passing away on this date in history, the remarkably sweet Gracie Allen.
Did you ever know that my Uncle Otis ran for city councilman of San Francisco?
Oh?
Oh, and what a campaign he put on.
Kissed all the babies, huh?
Oh, no, why should he? In San Francisco, very few babies are old enough to vote.
Yeah, well, the climate there keeps the babies young.
Of course. Some people thought Uncle Otis wouldn't make a good councilman because he liked to drink a little.
Oh?
So part of his campaign was to prove he had reformed.
How did he do that?
Well, every night he went around the neighborhood from house to house.
House to house, yeah.
And when a man came to the door, he'd make a pledge.
Made a pledge, yeah?
Yes, he'd say, "Good evening, friend. This is the last drink I'll ever take," and then he'd take one. So after about 20 or 30 pledges, they carried him home.
On a stretcher, no doubt.
Oh, no, by that time, he was so stiff he didn't need one.
With her loving husband, George Burns, Gracie Allen, passing away on this date back in 1964. Also passing away on this date, civil rights activist W.E.B. Du Bois. Also the English manager of the Beatles, Brian Epstein. Bennett Cerf, probably a great publisher and a very punny-filled publisher. But also his time on What's My Line was very memorable. Also, photojournalist Margaret Bork White passing away on this date. The very funny Sam Levinson on this date passing away. From Mission Impossible in Vegas, Greg Morris passing away. Luna Vachon, the wrestler and manager, passing away. And guitarist Stevie Ray Vaughan.
No matter what kind of blues you're playing, the reason for the music is to soothe.
Stevie Ray Vaughan passing away on this date in history. Among those born on this date in history, President Lyndon Johnson.
My fellow Americans, I accept your nomination.
LBJ accepting the nomination for his only term as president in his own right on his 50th birthday back in 1964. President Lyndon Johnson, LBJ, born on this date in history. Also, the 30th Vice President of the U.S. under Calvin Coolidge and Nobel Peace Prize laureate Charles Dawes, the co-founder of Rolls-Royce, Charles Rolls. Also, actress Martha Raye.
Yeah. Hey, George, I want to get some toothpaste.
Toothpaste? By tomorrow morning, I may not have any teeth. I need $200 to buy my life.
Are you kidding? Hey, there ain't $200 worth. Well, you ought to lost that.
You can't. You gotta go down and have them fitted. You can't send it off.
Are you kidding? There ain't $200 worth of life in you. I
got it. From the Red Skelton Show, Red as George Appleby, Martha Raye as his wife. Martha Raye, born on this date in history. Country singer Jimmy C. Newman, also born on this date. Actor Bill Daly, we remember him from Newhart, but probably most from I Dream of Jeannie. He was born on this date in history. He talks a little about being on Jeannie.
Well, Sidney wrote them all in an hour. Now we're doing what are we doing, like 40 shows. He wrote them and left. So Larry and I are standing together talking for like 20 minutes. So Larry would come up with these brilliant director ideas of what we should do. And so and also Larry would rehearse it after they would let us do it like a play. The cameramen were brilliant. And the directors, they'd say, okay, we'll light it. We would go and Larry would set up the whole set and we'd go to 20, 30, 40. So we went on. I not only knew my lines, I knew what I was doing. So, wow. And Newhart, we went in at 10 and left at 11, like I didn't know I was doing that character I was doing. Howard was terrified because trying to remember where's my line, where's my mark, no rehearsal. But it worked great for Bob.
Bill Daly, born on this date in history. Also, Daryl Dragon, the captain of the Captain and Tennille, born on this date. And, gosh, we lost him last year. Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman.
What's that thing you have, Pee-wee?
Oh, my abstinence ring.
No, in your other hand.
Oh, this thing? It's my new iPad.
What's an iPad?
The iPad is Apple's latest revolutionary device. The consensus on the internet is that its name closely resembles a popular brand of sanitary napkins.
What's a sanitary napkin?
Dog honky. It's a napkin that's super clean.
Pee Wee Herman, born on this date in history.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
He had the big hit Teenage Crush back in 1957. Tommy Sands, 87 years old today. The beautiful Tuesday Weld. She was on The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis as Thalia Menninger. The Tuesday Weld story is so sad. 81 years old today. The lovely and talented G.W. Bailey, best remembered as Staff Sergeant Luther Rizzo in MASH and Lieutenant Provenza on TNT's The Closer and Major Crimes. G.W. Bailey, 80 years old today. She was a Bond girl in The Spy Who Loved Me. Barbara Bach, 78. The pro wrestler Sergeant Slaughter, 76 today.
From Indeed, Paris Island, South Carolina, coming into view on his way to San Jose, California.
I don't know what that fellow said there in all that different type of language, but he says it'll take more than a whistle to beat him. Well, let me tell you, how does a Slaughter cannon sound? How does a Cobra clutch sound to you, Tito Santana? You're right. I don't respect anybody. You know, I don't have to come up here and call people names, but I will. You slime, you greaseball. I get a kick out of calling people names. And you know why I can do it? Because I'm man enough to do it.
Robert Rudolph Remus. He had success in the old National Wrestling Alliance, the American Wrestling Association, and the World Wrestling Federation. And part of the reason why he was in and out of the World Wrestling Federation a couple of times is the first time he went in to the WWF, and he was approached to work with G.I. Joe. And, well, you know, he knew there'd be money. And the problem was Vince McMahon wanted a piece of that money. And Sergeant Slaughter said, no, you're not getting it. It's mine. And so he left, went to the AWA for a while, and eventually they made amends and he came back. Sergeant Slaughter, 76 years old today. From Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Charles Fleischer, who was Roger Rabbit, 74 years old. From Grey's Anatomy, Chandra Wilson, 55. He was known as the Great Khali in the WWE, now Dalip Singh, 52 years old today. Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad is 45. From Freaks and Geeks and The Bold and the Beautiful, Kayla Ewell is 39. From Glee, Blake Jenner is 32. And she was the second Becky Connor on Roseanne, but as you'll hear here, she was also Dr. Elliot Reed on Scrubs. Sarah Chalk is 48.
This is what I like to call my told you so dance. I told you so, 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 I told you so.
I think she told you so. Sarah Chalk, 48 today. Those just a few of the people who celebrate the 27th day of August as their birthday. And if this is your birthday...
Hi, we're the Four Freshmen, and we just want to say... Happy birthday to you!
Mandel Kramer is yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Next as we focus on the date Sunday, 63 years ago today, August 27th, 1961. That's next on this Tuesday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
There's an issue cutting through the partisanship in Congress. It's AM radio.
The overwhelming majority of legislators, Democrats and Republicans, support a bill to keep AM radio in cars. But time is running out. Text AM to 52886 and ask Congress to bring this bill to the floor for a vote now. AM radio is too important to let this moment pass us by.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
I first want to thank Honeywell for sending us another 5 Dr. Peppers and buy me a coffee. They said, thanks for putting out these shows in such a great package. Love the news and birthdays. And that's, as I said, this show is not primarily, the old-time radio shows are there, and a lot of you listen because of the shows. But this isn't just about the old radio shows. This is about history, and that's why we do this. It is the history that surrounds the shows. That's why in a few minutes you're going to hear some of the news headlines from 63 years ago today as we hear 2 shows from that date. The Monitor sounds interesting. Would love to hear more of it. I have a few Monitor shows, and I might end up doing a special on it rather than do it as a regular daily show and just give you a couple of hours of Monitor to enjoy. I'll assemble those and see what we can do. Anyway, let's roll on here. Another note, the Mike Douglas Show. We mentioned it was his birthday a few days back, and yes, they were much simpler times when you would have an afternoon talk show, as good in many ways, except for, Johnny Carson, but as good as the guests and the production and all that on the Carson Show. Mike Douglas was a good host. Again, we mentioned the Jack Benny announcement that we air periodically, us. Let's not be separate. Let's unify. Let's be kind to one another. Tolerance is what it's called, and how Jackie Gleason was not a huge success from the get-go, I'll never understand. Jackie did that one summer series of shows that we have with Les Tremaine, if I recall correctly, and we've only got a couple of episodes up. In fact, I think we've only got the one. I wish we had more, but it was a fun show. Alrighty, and that was from our show from the 13th. I've caught up with all that's in the mailbag. Let's get to Mandel Kramer here. An episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, the first of 2 shows from Sunday, August 27th, 1961, 63 years ago today, the Shifty Looker Matter.
Johnny Dollar.
Reed here at Floyd's of England.
Georgie, how are you?
I beg your pardon?
George Reed, Floyd's of England?
Oh, no, Mr. Dollar. No, this is Jeffrey Reed. I'm George's younger brother.
Oh, I didn't know he had one.
Oh, yes, indeed. And what's more, I've taken over here, in George's place, so to speak.
Well, what's happened to him?
Well, he's been reassigned to the Home Office, back in London.
Oh, I see.
Yes, well-deserved promotion for him. He'll be in charge of all foreign business out of the Home Office, yes.
That big bum.
Eh? I beg your pardon?
I mean, for running off without telling me, without giving me a chance to throw him a farewell party or something.
Oh, well, you see, it was quite sudden.
Well, it must have been. George and I got to be pretty good friends, over the years. We worked a lot of cases together.
Yes, so he informed me. He also informed me, Mr.
Some of them were pretty wild, though, I must say, like the insurance on a pair of singing mice, on stolen ambergris from a totally non-existent whale. Some pretty wild ones. I mean, policies he never had any business issuing. Says going back to Old England,
Yes, he also informed me, yes, just a few days ago. And as I
Son of a gun, I'll miss the old boy. You know something, Jeffrey?
Please, Mr.
He was the only insurance man I ever knew. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I have interrupted you, haven't I?
He also, George, that is, also informed me that if I were to run into any difficulties that, of an unusual nature, shall we say that shouldn't be called to the attention of the police, that I need never hesitate to call upon you.
Uh-oh. What kind of crazy coverage has that company of yours given this time?
It's a policy George wrote himself.
Oh, then I shudder.
And I dare say you can hardly call this one crazy, Mr. Dollar. That is, when you consider it will require paying out some 100,000 of your American dollars.
On what?
on the life, or I should say the return, of a little child.
Return of a Oh, wait a minute. Are you talking about a kidnapping?
Yes, I am.
Well, have you called in the police, the FBI?
No, definitely not.
Why not?
Because the most explicit terms of the policy...
What are you talking about? What's an insurance policy got to do with whether or not you bring in the proper authorities?
Everything, Mr. Dollar.
Don't you understand, Reed, that kidnapping is a federal offense? Listen, give me the names involved. I'll notify the FBI myself.
No. That is the one thing you must not do.
Now, listen to me.
Now, please, Mr. Dollar, come over here and read the policy. Let me give you the facts of the case. I shall try to have the father over here to see and talk with you. And I think you'll change your mind about calling in the FBI.
Well, that I doubt very much. But okay, Mr. Reed. I'll be there in a few minutes.
The CBS Radio Network brings you Mandel Kramer and the exciting adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account. America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator,
yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Floyd's of England, North American Office, Hartford, Connecticut. Following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the Shifty Looker Matter. Expense account item 1, $4.30 for the inevitable tank full of gas. I always seem to find it empty when I have to use my car in a hurry. I drove downtown to Reed's office in the Spear Building. Jeffrey looked very much like his brother George, for whom I've handled so many investigations over the years, but he sounded far more British. Also, he seemed to have the knack of getting to the point by the longest possible way around.
He also informed me, Mr. Dollar, that I should keep, shall we say, a rather wary eye on your expense account.
Oh, yes, but...
that it might tend to get somewhat out of hand on occasion.
Well, let's not worry about that just now.
And I know, now that I've taken over this office, I fully appreciate how you may feel about some of the policies George issued during his tenure of office here. And I'm afraid this is one of them.
Well, suppose you tell me what happened.
The fact remains that by virtue of having written some of these, shall we say, rather unusual policies, he was able to build up the company's North American business to a wholly unprecedented extent.
Yes, we know that, Jeffrey, but about this kidnapping...
As a matter of fact, it was his outstanding record here that earned him the privilege of returning to the home office of...
Jeffrey, let's get to the business at hand, shall we?
Oh, yes, of course. Do you mind if I use the typical American familiarity and call you Johnny, as I understand George...
You can call me anything you like if you'll only get to the point.
Very well. And first, Johnny, I must insist that you read the terms of the policy covering the Looker child.
Looker?
Yes, just what it sounds like. Looker. Cynthia Looker, and her father's name is Stephen.
Stephen Looker. Stephen Looker.
Why do you say it that way?
I'm not sure, really. Somewhere in the back of my mind... forget it. Now, what happened?
Well, Mr. Looker and his child have residence at the old Wakefield Towers. He's retired, I understand. At least according to the policy.
Looker.
I beg your pardon?
No, nothing. Go on.
Well, he called me just before I called you. That is, I called you after checking over this policy, as he insists I do.
Yes, well?
It seems that he spent last evening, up till the wee small hours, with some friends, leaving his daughter Cynthia alone in the apartment.
How old is Cynthia?
7.
Go on.
When he returned early this morning, she was gone.
Well, now, that doesn't necessarily mean that she was kidnapped.
Oh, but I'm afraid it does, Johnny.
Was there a ransom note?
A ransom message, rather, on a tape recording device attached to his telephone, demanding $100,000.
I see.
By some coincidence, that is exactly the amount specified in the policy. Now, read it, please.
He insured her specifically against kidnapping?
It provides for immediate payment in cash, in unmarked bills of any amount up to and including $100,000 that may be demanded by the kidnappers.
But look here, Jeff.
It also states that under no circumstances are the press, the police, the FBI, or any other recognized law enforcement agency to be brought in until Mr. Looker has had ample opportunity to attempt payment of the ransom, and if possible, achieve return of the child. I told you it was unusual, Johnny.
Unusual? It's highly illegal, too.
Be that as it may, we are bound by its terms.
Well, then why call me in?
Well, fortunately, you are not one of the agencies of the law referred to.
Why under the sun would George ever issue a policy like this?
I told you, Johnny.
Yes, you told me. When was it issued?
Shortly after little Cynthia was born, which happened to be shortly after the Beeler kidnapping and the abduction and subsequent murder of the Hammerthwaite child. As you may remember, the Hammerthwaites refused to pay the ransom.
Yes, I do remember them both.
Well, can you blame Mr. Looker, then, for wanting such protection for Cynthia?
When is the money supposed to be paid? Did he tell you that?
Yes, tonight.
Where and how?
I don't know.
Where is Looker now?
On his way over here.
To pick up the money?
Yes, I have it all ready for him. But now, if he should find you here... Excuse me. Yes?
Mr. Looker is here to see you, Mr. Reed.
Oh, well, just a moment, Sarah. Johnny.
I work here. I'm the one who had to go out and pick up the cash.
Oh, good. Very well, Sarah. Send him in, please.
Yes, sir.
Also, Jeff.
Yes?
I'm the one who's going to try to keep that cash from ever being paid out. The terms of that policy notwithstanding.
Well, now, look, Johnny. Oh, come in, Mr. Looker. Come in.
There was something familiar about Stephen Looker. The more I watched him and listened to him, the more I was sure of it. When Jeffrey Reed introduced me as an associate, he protested that it was a breach of the confidence stipulated in the insurance policy. But of course, it was too late to do anything about it. He simply warned me that if I, or Jeff either for that matter, if we made any attempt to contact the authorities, he'd have our heads, and I think he meant just exactly that.
Because I know about those dirty, rotten kidnappings. I've read all about them, so have you. And you know what happens if you don't do exactly what they say.
Well, don't believe everything you read, Mr. Looker.
It's easy for you to say, Mr. Dollar, is it?
Yes.
Because it isn't your kid, but I don't follow out their orders exactly in every way. They'll kill her. I know they will.
Now, wait a minute.
Wait, nothing. Cynthia's all I got in my life. She's the most wonderful kid alive. The sweetest, the prettiest, the most lovin'est little. She's all I got, don't you understand? And neither you or anybody else is going to let him take her away from me.
Mr. Looker, if you pay off once, don't you know that they'll try it again?
Not on me, they won't. Because I and Cynthia will be far away. You think I'd stay in a place like this, a country like this, after that?
Mr. Looker.
No. No. Don't try. Argue with me. It won't do any good. Just give me the money. Let me pay him off and get her back.
Well, of course, we are faced with the matter of proof.
Proof? What are you talking about?
Proof that she was actually kidnapped.
What more kind of proof do you want than this? You said you got a tape machine here in your office, Mr. Reed?
Yes, I have. Right over there.
Then put this on and play it back for this doubting Thompson or whatever he calls himself. Play back this tape recording and he'll see.
Very well, I shall.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just take me a moment to get it warmed up and ready.
Mr. Looker, why do you have your phone conversations taped?
Why not? Just a habit from the business I was in before I retired.
Oh? What kind of business?
Look, can't you think of anything better to do than ask a lot of silly questions at a time like this?
Well, it's something you'd rather not talk about.
Okay, it was radio and electrical stuff and tape recorders, that sort of thing.
I see.
When my wife died, rest her soul, right after Cynthia was born, and we come here to live in peace, I wasn't working anymore. Well, any reason why I shouldn't rig up a gadget to answer the phone while I was out and rig it so it could take down a message for me?
Does it also record conversations when you answer the phone?
Sure, if I wanted to. Why not?
I just wondered. I mean, outside of a business where it might be wise to have orders or contracts or legal commitments recorded.
I said I'm retired.
The only reason I can think of for an individual would be if he expects to be threatened or something and wants a record of it for the police.
Expect?
I mean, suppose he had contacts with people of questionable reputation.
What? All ready when you are, gentlemen. And go ahead and start the tape. You wanted proof, Dollar. Now you'll get it. All ready?
Right.
Very well.
Hello, this is a recording. Hello. I'm not in right now, but any message you want to leave will be kept on tape for me when I get back. Go right ahead with your message. Well, that's real good. So listen, Mr. Looker. We got your baby, your little Cynthia. She's okay, she's alive and comfortable.
The kidnapper, Johnny.
Now,
Wait, sir.
you do exactly what we tell you to, you'll get her back again tonight. You don't, you'll never see her alive. Now, all you got to do is this. Get hold of 100 G's unmarked. You get that? Unmarked. And when you turn it over to us, we turn over the kid to you. We'll even let you get a look at her a couple of seconds before you hand us the money so you'll know we're on the level and she's okay.
Well, at least they...
But I want to warn you. Deliver the dough alone and don't try anything funny. If you call on the cops or anybody else, all you'll ever see is a dead body.
They would. They'd kill my little girl.
Wait.
All you got to do is this. Tonight, Mr. Looker. Tonight. Tomorrow's going to be too late. You put the dough in a regular paper bag, see? And exactly 11 o'clock tonight...
Stop the machine.
Bring it to the...
I'm taking no chances that you or anybody else can interfere.
He does have a point there, Johnny. If anyone interferes...
You bet I got a point.
All right. But, of course, the tape will have to be left here as evidence, Mr. Looker.
After I paid over the money. After I got my Cynthia back, then you can have it. Then if you want somebody to try and chase down these dirty crooks, that's up to you. But not until I get my little girl back.
Well, now, when you do get her back, since we're paying out all this money, you must let me know immediately.
Don't you worry. The second I get her back to the apartment, I'll call you. I'll have her talk to you, so you'll be sure.
That's the Wakefield Tower.
That's right.
Good. They have a switchboard there.
What's the difference?
Well, as long as you make the call from there, from your own apartment, there'll be a record of it.
Splendid. And that will suffice for the evidence we'll need before we call in the police.
Okay. I'll do it just like you say. Now, give me the money. And the both of you better pray a little bit.
As soon as he left us, I took off after him on what proved to be the most unsuccessful tailing job you ever heard of. Within less than 5 minutes, I'd lost him completely. And why? Because he must have known it. He must have been afraid of what might happen to his daughter if somebody else tagged along with him. Or was it? Because it was just about then, a little bell in the back of my head suddenly rang out loud and clear. Steve Looker. Shifty Looker. To make sure, I passed up a couple of red lights to get to the public library before it closed. There in the old newspaper files, I found it. A story from September of 1954, Dateline Chicago. When they rounded up the old Maroney mob and took him to trial, only one man got off without a prison term. The one they called Shifty Looker, alleged to be the man who kept his pals informed about the cops by means of a clever, elaborate radio hookup, who jammed the police radio frequency whenever the gang was pulling a job. He got off the hook because he turned state's evidence, but Maroney, who drew a 7-year stretch, swore he'd get even. And Maroney had also been suspected of kidnapping. By the time I walked out of that library, the bell in the back of my brain was clanging like a fire alarm. Item 2, a dime for a call to police headquarters.
Maroney? Stinky Maroney?
That's right, Lieutenant.
Sure, you had a little organization out in Chicago.
Yes, I know.
Drew a 7-year stretch.
Do you know if he's out?
Well, I can check on it, Johnny. Might take me a couple of hours, though.
Lieutenant, I'll be sitting on your doorstep.
If you ever suffer a touch of arthritis or rheumatism and you've never tried Mentholatum Deep Heating Rub, you can't know how good its deep heating action can make you feel. As you massage it into painful areas, you feel its deep heating action. You know relief is on its way. Mentholatum Deep Heating Rub is an extra strong combination of active ingredients for safe, temporary relief of minor arthritic rheumatic pain. Use greaseless, stainless Mentholatum Deep Heating Rub often.
Well, Lieutenant, Johnny, I've been staring at that teletype machine out there until I can't see straight. Still no word. Come on, boy. Sure you don't want to tell me what this is all about?
Sorry, Lieutenant.
Now, wait a minute. Are you thinking maybe Maroney might have some reason for coming here to Hartford?
I didn't say that.
Now, listen, Johnny, we've known each other too long. If you think that maybe Maroney has some reason for... Oh, now, hold the phone.
What's that supposed to mean?
Do you by any chance just happen to know that one of his ex-pals just happens to be living here now?
No kidding.
That didn't sound very convincing, Johnny.
I don't know why not.
But his name is Stephen Looker. You know him?
Looker? Looker. Should I?
The one member of the mob that got off scot-free. Been here for years now, behaving like an angel. He and his little girl. So we haven't bothered him. But...
Yeah, but what?
Maroney had a grudge against him, swore he'd get him.
So?
You know the worst thing Maroney could possibly do to Steve Looker?
Should I?
Well, if you really don't know him, I guess not. But I'll tell you, Johnny, the worst thing would be for him to harm that little girl. Money? No, Looker hasn't got much. But if one hair of his little girl's head is touched, listen, he's been a mother and a father and everything else to that pretty little kid. And like I say, he's kept his nose clean here in Hartford. So if Maroney is out... Okay, I know what I'm going to do.
What, Lieutenant?
Put a 24-hour watch over Steve Looker and the kid, beginning right now.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute, what for? Conroy,
But will you take
here.
it easy for a minute?
Oh, you mean that's why you're so concerned about Maroney?
I didn't say that.
Then I'm saying it. Of course it is. But it's a police matter, Johnny.
Listen, Lieutenant.
So you just leave it up to me. Conroy! You call me, Lieutenant? Yeah? Come in here.
Right, sir. Oh, and here's the telly you were waiting for.
Good, let me see it. Oh.
And, what do you want me for, Lieutenant?
You, Conroy, not a thing. Not yet, that is. Not for a couple of weeks, so relax.
Huh?
The teletype, Lieutenant.
Johnny, you can relax, too.
What do you mean?
Your friend Maroney doesn't get out of the pen until the 1st of next month.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, Conroy, that's all.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Johnny, you can just relax. For 2 solid weeks.
I guess that teletype knocks a theory of mine. It... Oh, smoke. How blind can I be?
Now, listen, Johnny.
I'll see you later. Blind is right. Was it Maroney's imminent release from prison that gave him the idea? Or was it something that he'd planned all along? And now that Maroney was getting out, he was afraid to wait any longer. Anyhow, it all added up, and much too well. Steve Looker had no money. So how could a kidnapper expect anybody to come up with $100,000 in less than 24 hours? Unless he knew about that insurance policy. But that policy was a deep, dark secret. Yet by some coincidence, that ransom message demanded just exactly 100 G's. Coincidence? And his defensive attitude when he found me there in Jeffrey's office. Of course. He must have known who and what I am. As for his crack that after this was over, he and the youngster would be far, far away, oh, you bet they would, with $100,000 in his kick. I didn't know where he'd hidden his child, away from his apartment for the day. I didn't care. I didn't know whose voice he'd used on the tape recording. I didn't care about that either, but to carry it off without creating suspicion, he would have to make that phone call to Jeff after 11 o'clock from his own apartment so that it would be on record. It also meant that he wouldn't dare pick up Cynthia and take her there until after 11. I tore on over to the Wakefield Towers, took the elevator up to his floor, and then...
Yes? What is it?
Special delivery, Mr. Looker.
Okay.
What do you want, Dollar?
Just to look at those handbags you're so busy packing.
Wait a minute, Dollar. I told you, I and the kid are going to get away from here as soon as I get her back.
I'm sure you would, too, with the 100,000, if you could. Now, just let's have a look at these bags, huh?
You're crazy, Dollar. That 100,000 is to pay off the ransom.
Is it, Shifty?
50.
And what's it doing so carefully stashed away? Oh, I see.
Yeah, you see, Dollar. This thing has a silencer on it. You think I didn't know who you are this afternoon? What you were doing there? Think I wouldn't be ready and waiting for you?
And you still thought you could get away with this?
You bet I do. First, I give you one nice slug between the eyes. All right?
Don't drop it, Shifty.
Cops.
That's right, cops. Lots of them. Gonna drop it, Shifty?
Oh, sure. I will.
Okay, boys, take him out the car. Come on. And carefully. Watch it.
Well, what brought you here, Lieutenant?
Oh, you didn't spot the tail I put on you when you left headquarters.
Oh, no, I guess I didn't.
Oh, you're slipping, Johnny.
Yeah, but I'm glad you did. Thanks.
Pleasure.
Well, let's see now. Expense account total is exactly $4.40. Okay, Jeffrey, it's perfectly all right. As long as you don't forget my commission on just exactly 100,000 clams. Not bad, for a single day's work? I'll take it any time. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Now, here is our star to tell you about next week's story.
Next week, one of the cleverest, most diabolical weapons for murder I've ever seen. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is written by Jack Johnstone. Produced and directed by Bruno Zerato Jr. Music supervision by Ethel Huber. Johnny Dollar is played by Mandel Kramer. Also featured in our cast were Court Benson as Reed, Roger DeKoven as Steve Looker, Carl Frank as the police lieutenant, Ellen Manson as the voice on the tape, Guy Repp as Conroy, and Barbara Cassar as Sarah. Be sure to join us next week, same time, same station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. This is Art Hanna speaking. They're the most. Bing Crosby and Rosemary Clooney, weekdays on the CBS Radio Network.
63 years ago, Sunday, August 27th, 1961, yours truly, Johnny Dollar on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll have an episode of Suspense from that Sunday after we look at the news from that date.
When the family is packing up to go on a vacation or maybe on an all-day trip to the beach, everyone's pretty busy. Dad is sure the car is in good condition, Mom sees to it that food and extra clothing is packed, and of course we can always count on the kids to bring special equipment, everything from a tennis racket to a portable radio. The same thing is true in preparing for possible enemy attack. Everyone should have a job to do and know when to do it. Be sure that everyone in your family is assigned a job to do in case of enemy attack.
We'll have Suspense in a few minutes, but first, here's a look at news from Sunday, August 27th, 1961. American Motors, the nation's fourth largest automaker, and the United Auto Workers agreed on a profit-sharing plan for employees, the first in the auto industry. AMC Vice President Edward L. Cushman and UAW President Walter P. Reuther announced agreement on the principles of the plan. After 4 days of marathon bargaining, they said they're at the halfway mark of reaching total agreement on a new labor contract. The wife of Costa Rica's ambassador and her sister were mauled by a robber in Washington who invaded the embassy residence. The embassy said both women were under sedation, couldn't discuss the incident with reporters. The robber escaped with jewelry valued at $5,000 and with $85 in cash. The U.S., Britain, and France solemnly warned the Soviet Union to keep its hands off Western airlanes into West Berlin or face the most serious consequences. In similar notes delivered at the Kremlin, the big three Western allies also protested against what they called Russia's scarcely veiled threat of aggression against the air routes. They totally rejected Soviet claims made in formal notes Wednesday that the use of 3 air corridors across communist East Germany territory is being abused through transportation of West German troublemakers into West Berlin. In Brazil, War Minister General Odio Denis tonight reportedly determined to prevent leftist Vice President João Goulart from taking over the presidency dramatically vacated by Jânio Quadros. Adding to prospects of a power struggle, Goulārt's supporters warned there would be serious trouble in this tense South American nation if any move is made to stop him from assuming the presidency when he returns from a Far East tour. James R. Hoppe, International Teamsters President, agreed in Cincinnati to appear with James T. Lucan, leader of a 4,000-man disaffiliation movement, in a press conference. Earlier plans had been for Hoppe to speak in the music hall while Lucan presented his views on the RIF from a television studio. The two had been unable to agree on a setting for a debate on the RIF. Government figures have shown a strong pickup in business since last March. Since then, the number of jobs in non-farm industries have shown a gain of 1.250 million workers beyond the normal seasonal rise. But in manufacturing industries, employment in July was still 300,000 below the July 1960 total, and the unemployment rate adjusted for seasonal ups and downs remained at 6.9%, practically unchanged for the 8th straight month. The estimated unemployment for the nation last month was 5.4 million people. 2 communist rebels were killed in a gun battle with the Philippine constabulary, one of the dead men described as the Huck chieftain in Nueva Ecija province in central Luzon Island. Railway officials said today agreement had been reached and a 4-day nationwide rail strike set for Monday has been called off. Workers had called the strike in protest against government plans for reorganization of the railway. A former Marine who says he wants to give up his American citizenship and take his family to Russia showed up at the White House but didn't get in. 36-year-old Lloyd Hatch, an unemployed construction worker from Akron, Ohio, told guards at the executive mansion he had some information of national importance. He was recommended to the FBI. A bit later, he, his wife, 6 children, and a dog all showed up at the FBI offices. They conferred with officials there for a short time and then left. Hatch came to Washington overnight from Akron. He said earlier this week he wants to escape from what he called the American rat race, in which money means everything. Those some of the stories from the newspapers of Sunday, August 27th, 1961. On your radio, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and coming up next, Suspense.
The threat of fire in our homes is always with us. It's a good idea to know how to deal with it. For fire to burn, 3 things are necessary: fuel, heat, and air. Take any one away, and no flames. Most small fires can be put out by cooling, dousing them with water, or by smothering, taking the air away. Another method is to get the blaze outside. Take the fuel away by using a broom or other tool. So remember, a fire needs heat, fuel, and air. Take any one away, and no fire.
We continue now on Classic Radio Theater with an episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. This episode also will wrap up our look at Sunday, August 27th, 1961, and that was 63 years ago today.
And now, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Can the devil really take possession of the mind of man? Listen to Sold to Satan, starring Kermit Murdock, and adapted especially for Suspense by Joseph Cochran from a short story by Jules Archer.
Just for the record, I'm not Frank Weinglass, president of the Figuret firm. And yet, I'm a significant part of him. I'm sure Frank's dimly conscious of me, for he wrote in his diary, "I believe every man must carry a personal Satan caged deep within himself. A subtle, compelling force that suggests mad ideas, wrong ideas, irresistible ideas." That's Frank's estimate of me. On my own behalf, I'd say I'm keener than Frank in understanding what is inevitable and telling him so at once. And I do have my mischievous comic side, as Frank discovered that evening at the exclusive Hampton Club, where the members for the most part believe that silence is golden.
Confound it, man. Must you make so much noise with that ice?
Oh, sorry, Colonel Dover.
All right, let's see.
Frank wasn't a bit sorry, and I got the message. I waited and let Frank remind himself that Colonel Dover had the annoying habit of glaring over the top of his newspaper at anyone who made the slightest sound. At the right moment, I made my move. Frank, can you imagine what would happen to this sacred silence if we gave the Colonel the hot foot? Well, after the third scotch, Frank agreed it was a hilarious idea. He got up, walked over to the colonel, and stopped, pretending to tie his shoe. He lit the match and got back to his chair. We waited.
Fire! Great Scott, my foot is on fire!
Colonel!
Blasted it! If I knew what bounder did that, I'd have him expelled. He would... Steward!
As I said, I grasped the inevitable, and what I suggested a few days later met with flat refusal, even to listen. But I knew he'd come round. Then, too, I had the lever to pry Frank away from his deepest fears and inhibitions and commit even murder. The lever was Diane Rodell, model for Figurette. She came into the office of Harry Feeney as Frank's partner one morning after they'd had a night on the town.
Hello, honey boy.
Oh, hello, Diane.
Feeling low, honey boy.
Don't call me that.
Why, honey boy, last night you
No,
said
I
that
mean around the office. Frank might hear you.
even if I nestle up close and whisper it like this. Honey boy.
No matter what happened last night, these are business hours.
That's why I'm here.
Some other time, huh? I can't think. My head is...
but my bill collector, he's such a nasty man. And when I say some other time, he says, no, sister, right now or else. Harry, you don't want him to talk to me like that, now do you?
Oh... Well, here's $200, and for the love of Mike, don't...
Ah, thank you, honey boy. And from now on, this'll be my week's salary.
What do you mean? Your salary's $100 a week.
Oh, it was. Now it's $200, and I want a 10-year contract.
What? Now, see here, Diane, you can't put the bite on me. No, absolutely no.
Don't get impulsive, honey boy, or I'll show these photographs to Mrs. Feeney.
Oh, Diane, this is blackmail.
Oh, no, honey boy, you know I'm the best model figurette ever had. I'm worth $200.
Yeah, sure. I know you're a good model, the best. But there's Frank. He's my partner.
You also have a partnership with Mrs. Feeney. Now, what's she going to say about these photographs?
All right. Give me the photos. Say nothing about this, and I'll adjust your salary. We'll call it a cost of living increase. And because you're so valuable to the firm, that is, you'll be sewed up with a long-term contract. How's that?
Why, honey boy, that's what I came to ask. I'm so glad you thought of it first.
Harry, are you bats? $200 a week.
And a 10-year contract.
But why? Has she got something on you?
Take a look at these photos. She hinted that Agnes might like to see them.
No doubt she would. Well, it's your funeral.
And then it's all right? We give her the $200?
You pay the extra $100. Firm isn't paying for your night clubbing with Diane, with pictures.
All right, Frank. Don't get mad now.
Did you get the negatives?
Well, no. You see, Diane's got them in a vault. She says they're her contract insurance.
Harry, you're a fool. We didn't need your wife's money to expand the firm. I'd call the police, have her arrested for extortion.
The next time I whispered to Frank, that shocked look didn't come over his face, and he listened. For this time I was able to add, for Doug's sake, to the word murder. Douglas Wineglass was Frank's adopted son. The attachment was even stronger than I realized. Doug handled the firm's advertising. He was a shy boy of 24 who walked with a limp caused by a knee infection when he was a child. This morning he limped into Frank's office and he was bustling with suppressed excitement.
Dad, I've got to talk to you.
Well, come in, Doug, come in. Looks as if you had something on your mind.
Dad, you're going to become a father-in-law.
Son. Oh, that's fine. Really it is. Why, being a father-in-law is pretty close to being a grandfather. Now, who's going to make an honest man of you?
She's the girl who makes millions of women buy figurette undergarments.
Do you mean Diane Rodell?
Well, Dad, I didn't expect that tone from you, just because she's a model.
Doug, isn't it possible you've let yourself be carried away? I know how it is, a beautiful girl like Diane.
Now, don't say anything against her, Dad. She's the sweetest, most sincere, and modest girl I've ever known. I love her, and we're going to be married.
Doug, think this over. For a lot of reasons.
Give me one. Just one.
Well, all right. Ask yourself why Diane, with her looks and her glamour, wants to marry a kid like you who's lame in one leg.
I've heard enough, Dad. Nothing you can say will interest me. Not after that.
Oh, Doug, come back. I didn't mean it. Fine mess you got me into.
What's the trouble, Frank?
Doug just told me he's going to marry Diane.
Yes, I know.
Sweetest, most decent girl he ever knew.
Frank, you didn't tell him about...
No, because it wouldn't do any good. The only way I can convince him is with those photos. Let me have them.
I burned them.
Well, then you've got to tell Doug.
I can't. Diane's way ahead of you.
What do you mean?
She phoned and said if I ever told Doug anything to hurt her chances, she'd send the photos to my wife in the next mail. Frank, Agnes would throw me out. And if she did, I wouldn't have a dime.
Oh, what a partner you turned out to be.
Frank fought off my suggestion to murder Diane. He told himself he could buy her off. He called Diane and arranged to see her that night. Well, I didn't argue. I knew he had to try everything before the inevitable solution.
So nice of you to call, Mr. Wineglass. Do sit down.
You know why I'm here, so let's skip the preliminaries. Get down to the price.
What's your half of figurette worth?
$60,000.
Let's not play foxy with each other. My source of information tells me it's worth $150,000. The same for Harry Feeney. Except his wife owns his shares.
Knowing you can't shake her down, you think you'll get it through Doug.
Oh, l'amour. I just can't resist Doug. And vice versa. A grand passion like ours is worth $150,000. Well, good night, Daddy.
My boy thinks you're the most decent girl in the world.
How perfectly darling of him. You wouldn't ever tell him anything different. Now, would you, Mr. Wineglass?
All right, Frank. You've tried everything, but there's no other way. With careful planning, I think we can open Doug's eyes and work it so Harry Feeney would take the rap. He's around your neck. You despise him. You could kill two birds with one stone. What do you say, Frank? I kept him tossing all night with the details. The first step, of course, was to undo the harm with Doug. Well, that was taken care of first thing in the morning.
You wanted to see me? If it's about Diane, you may as well save your breath.
Doug, I'd appreciate it a lot if you'd forget what I said yesterday. I behaved like an old fool. I guess I was touchy about being left in the dark until it happened.
Well, sure, Dad. I understand. I'd have told you sooner, only I wasn't sure she'd have me. To tell you the truth, I wasn't sure about my game leg either.
Well, I'm glad she didn't let that stand in the way. She's a wonderful girl. Now, Do you think Diane could bear up if I sent you on a business trip?
Where do I go, and when'll I be back?
Oh, you'd leave in the morning for the National Convention of Garment Workers in San Francisco. You'd be gone about 10 days. Well, say, why don't you plan to take the 20th Century tomorrow and show Diane the town tonight?
Step number 1 was easy. Doug softened up and out of town for 10 days. Diane out of her apartment for the night. Step number 2 consists of your alibi, Frank. We'd better put it through a test run. And at the same time, set up the motive for the forthcoming trial of the People versus Harry Feeney, your partner. Everything hinged on the timing. So promptly at 9:02, we were at the Hampton Club. Colonel Dover's face was buried in the newspaper, as usual. At 9:15, he had turned page 1. Now, Frank, let him have it.
Blast it! Oh, sorry, Colonel. Very sorry.
Well, that's all right. Perfect, Frank, oh boy. Perfect. 9:20, at my whisper, he rose, slipped out the French window and into the garden. It took 3 minutes to reach the Madison Arms, Diane's apartment house up the street from the club. Entering by way of the cellar, he climbed the 10 flights of stairs without meeting anyone and emerged at the corridor window. He had a bit of luck when he got out on the fire escape and found the window to Diane's room open an inch. 9:30, he was pecking out a note on Diane's typewriter. He finished the note, and at exactly 9:40, he left the apartment, hurried down the stairs, walked to the club, and entered by the same window. He sank into his chair. Colonel Dover had turned another page of the newspaper. Frank wanted to do it right away, but I made him wait a couple of minutes. Now.
Now, confound it, sir. Must you clear that infernal throat every 2 minutes?
Oh, sorry. Terribly sorry, Colonel.
Class of people.
The run-through was perfect. Frank was elated. I told him the plan was foolproof. Frank, the only thing that can trip you up is nerves. So now relax and get some sleep. I reminded him to mail the letter he had typed on Diane's stationery. The reaction to that didn't take long.
Oh, Frank, listen, what am I going to do? Look at this letter I got this morning. What am I going to do?
Well, how do I know that you tell me what it's all about?
Well, here, read it.
Harry, honey boy. Honey boy, good gracious. I'm afraid the time has come. I need a little extra money. Let's make it $25,000. You can bring it to my apartment tonight at 9:45 sharp. Don't telephone any excuses, or I'll stroll down to the mailbox.
$25,000. She writes as if it were petty cash.
P.S. Bring it all in cash, please.
I can't raise $2,500, let alone what she's asking. Frank, you couldn't see your way clear to let me have it, huh? You'll get it back, every cent.
Sure. When Agnes dies.
I'll get her to sign over some of the stock to you. I'll convince her. Somehow.
All right. Stop sniveling. I'll give you the money. On one condition.
Oh, anything you say, Frank.
Just this. When you see Diane tonight, get those negatives. Slap her around if you have to, but get them. Understand?
Oh, sure. I'll get them even if I have to knock her out. Frank, old boy, you're a real friend. I'll never forget this. Never.
Hook, line, and sinker. Hello, Diane. Frank Wineglass.
Why do you have to get a girl out of bed so early in the morning?
Now, I'm calling for Harry. He's got to see you tonight about those negatives.
You can tell him.
Now, wait, Diane. He's prepared to pay for them. You can write your own ticket.
Well, that sounds interesting. Where's he getting the money?
Well, I'm letting him have some.
Oh?
And he made a killing at the track.
What time is he coming?
Between 9 and 10.
Will you tell Honey Boy I'll be waiting anxiously.
Frank was on edge, so I made him wait in the club a full 5 minutes more. He felt his pocket for the murder weapon, one of Harry's scarves taken from the office hall tree. According to schedule, it would be wrapped around Diane's beautiful neck at 9:37. Frank slipped out by way of the French window and made his way to Diane's apartment. No need to climb the steps this time. She was anxiously waiting for her honey boy.
Come right on. Oh, it's you. I thought Harry was coming.
Well, you know how Agnes is. He couldn't get away. So he sent me with the money.
How much? He told me I could name the price. Have you got it with you?
If you have the negatives.
I've got them. You see them when I get the money.
How much?
150 grand.
That's what I figured it'd be. It'll break Harry, but, that's his funeral. Sure you want to count it, but you'll find it's all there.
100, two. Oh, you big bum, there's nothing but blank paper here.
Frank found the negatives right next to her heart. He burned half of them, leaving enough to show who it was. Picked up the fake money, made his way back to the club, just as the colonel was turning the second page of the newspaper. Frank slipped into his chair and calmly waited for my signal.
Now, by the eternal, sir, this is too much. You, sir, if I hear one peep out of you again, I will... What? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I beg your pardon, sir. One peep, sir, and I will complain to the steward, sir, and demand your expulsion.
I'm dreadfully sorry, Colonel. I promise you it won't happen again. Sir.
Yes, well, see that it doesn't, sir.
Oh, by the way, Colonel.
What now?
May I ask a favor? My watch reads 9:20. It stopped. When I entered the club, it was 9:15.
Well, it is exactly 9:52. Now, sir, may I go back to my paper?
Thank you. 9:52.
Only 3 minutes off schedule. We allowed a 5-minute margin for error. Not bad. Diane dead, Doug in San Francisco, and to make it perfect, Harry has probably let himself in by the door that you left unlocked. He'll reel back and leave his fingerprints all over the place. He'll rush out without noticing the burnt negatives of the scarf, and he'll be frantic until he finds you.
Mr. Wineglass, telephone call for you. I'll plug it in.
Oh, thank you. Hello?
Frank, I've been trying to get you all evening. I'm in an awful mess. You've got to help me.
Oh, what's the matter? Didn't the meeting with Diane work out? Didn't you get the negatives?
Well, that's just it. I haven't been able to get away from Agnes.
What?
When I was finally able to sneak out to call Diane and tell her I was stuck, she didn't answer. Frank, get to her, find her, and explain. Tell her I'll get there, but it'll be after midnight.
I saw Frank go white. If Harry was home until after midnight, they couldn't pin the murder on him. I called on Frank to be calm, reminded him that if they couldn't pin it on Harry, they couldn't pin it on him either. Besides, the main purpose had been accomplished. Diane wouldn't marry Doug. I told him to go home, get some sleep. Early in the morning, he was awakened by the doorbell ringing. And when he opened the door, he saw an officer.
Sorry to disturb you, Mr. Wineglass, but they want to see you at the station.
Oh, what's the trouble?
Diane Rodell, a model in your employ, has been murdered.
Diane. Oh, I see. They want me to give any information I can. Do they suspect anyone?
Hate to be the one to tell you, but they're holding Douglas Wineglass.
Oh, that's impossible. He's in San Francisco.
He was to take a train, but stayed in the city until the last minute and decided to take a plane. He phoned the police from her apartment. We found him holding some burnt negatives. He didn't deny the murder. He just kept saying he didn't want to live any longer.
Get me down to the station as fast as you can. Well, I'll clear this up in no time.
All right, the car's waiting.
I whispered, Frank, don't be a fool. The boy doesn't mean that much to you. He didn't even hear me. Maybe I didn't know the real Frank Wineglass after all. Maybe Frank was willing to pay with his life just to prove me wrong for once. So long, Frank. I won't be taking this trip with you. You double-crossed me at the last.
Suspense. You have been listening to Sold to Satan, starring Kermit Murdock, and adapted especially for Suspense by Joseph Cochran from a short story by Jules Archer. Suspense is produced and directed by Bruno Zerato Jr., musical supervision by Ethel Huber. Heard in tonight's story were Elizabeth Lawrence as Diane Rodell, Robert Dryden as Harry Feeney, Ian Martin as Colonel Dover, Richard Holland as Douglas Wineglass, and Dick Hamilton as the police officer. Listen again next week when we return with The Juvenile Rebellion, written by Robert Senadella. Another tale well calculated to keep you in suspense. CBS newsmen everywhere report in depth and detail on this station of the CBS radio network.
And with that episode of Suspense from 63 years ago today, August 27th, 1961, we wrap up our look at that date in history. Tomorrow on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we will have Westerns and Crime. We'll start off with Orson Welles and Margot Stevenson in The Shadow from 86 years ago, August 28, 1938, The Tomb of Terror. We'll have another episode of the summer series Mystery in the Air starring Peter Lorre from 77 years ago, August 28, 1947, Beyond Good and Evil. And then we'll head to San Francisco, an episode of Have Gun Will Travel starring John Dehner as Paladin from August 28, 1960, and an episode of Gunsmoke from that same day, August 28, 1960. And we'll wrap it up with an episode of Blackstone, the Magic Detective, and the Criminal Who Caught Himself. That'll be coming up on our Wednesday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. But now, The Whistler next.
Everyone in the United States should know his community's public action signals and what they mean. There are two signals. The alert signal is a steady blast of 3 to 5 minutes. It means attack is probable. Take action as directed by your local authorities. Tune your radio to the Conelrad frequency of 640 or 1240 for official instructions and information. The take cover signal is a wavering tone or short blast for 3 minutes. It means attack is imminent. Take cover in the best available shelter. Be prepared. Know these signals and what they mean.
Now an episode of the West Coast program The Whistler, going back 78 years to August 27th, 1945. This episode entitled, I'll Trade You Murder.
Signal gasoline. Let every traffic signal remind you, you do go farther with Signal gasoline. Yes, you do go farther with Signal. Signal Oil Company and your neighborhood Signal dealer bring you another curious story by The Whistler. Tonight, I'll trade you murder.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak. Hate can be a weapon to use against the world, or it can be a slow and deadly poison that shrivels the human heart. For example, take the case of Henry Reichman, 55, unmarried, employed at the Dover Bookshop on High Street. Who would suspect that behind Henry's very ordinary, very meek and mild exterior, there burns boundless hate for people. People who are successful, who have never known disappointment. On a rainy evening, surrounded by the printed thoughts of other men, Henry's own thoughts seem more fruitless than ever. And so when the door opens, his hatred envelops the man who enters. Just another customer, Mr. Eugene Parker. But he's someone else to hate. Mr. Parker stands inside the door in his streaming raincoat, shaking his umbrella. A jeweler by trade, no bigger than Henry. But he has a house of his own, a sense of his own importance in the world. And a nervous manner Henry always finds annoying.
Good evening, Mr. Parker.
Oh, hello, Henry. Hello. Nasty weather. Very ugly weather.
Yes, sir.
So where's Mr. Dover?
At his desk, back behind the partition.
Henry, will you come back here a moment?
There he is now. Yes, Mr. Dover, coming.
I'll come with you, Henry.
Yes, Henry, come in. Henry, it just occurred to me Why, good evening, Mr. Parker.
Hello, Dover. Hello. I thought I'd get in out of the rain.
Well, I'm glad you did. As a matter of fact, you look as if you ought to be home right now.
Yes, that's where I'm headed, but I stopped at the doctor's, and he gave me another prescription to get filled. So I thought I'd do that first before I took a cab home. Only trouble is, I didn't know that the weather would be so bad.
Is it your old trouble?
Yes, it is. But the prescription will fix me up. If I get it filled.
Why, Henry could do that for you easily enough. You just wait here and he'll run down to the drugstore.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Dover, but I didn't bring my raincoat with me today.
Oh, you could use mine, Henry.
Of course you could. You're both about the same size.
And my umbrella, too. If you'll be good enough to do it.
Of course he will. Won't you, Henry?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. Here's the prescription and the money. It's always exactly $4. Thanks very much, Henry.
Yes, sir. You're entirely welcome, sir.
Now, you must take care of yourself.
Yes, indeed.
Right.
Not so fast, buddy.
I didn't see you in that doorway.
Don't move. Now, don't get any funny ideas. Just get in that car.
Well, who are you? What do you want?
Go on, move over to the curb.
What do you want? What's the meaning of this?
We'll find out. Get inside.
No, I won't. You've made some mistake. Oh, that's a gun.
Now, will you quit arguing and get in that car?
Yes. All right. Yes, of course.
Okay, Floyd. Come on in. You heard him. Get inside. Well, I had to wait for him, Max. But here he is.
I demand to know why you brought me here.
Shut up. What's the matter, Max? What are you looking at me like that for?
Why, you stupid, blundering moron. You picked up the wrong guy.
But I couldn't.
Take a look at him. Does he look like the guy I told you to tail?
Well, gee, I don't know what happened, Max.
I thought I could depend on you.
Well, sure you can, Max, but anybody can make a mistake.
You know I got to keep out of sight. I don't want anyone knowing I ever came near this town. That's why I holed up in this two-bit hotel.
And you got to pull a smart one like this. If you're the boss, Max, I'll go back after the right guy if you say the word. What do we do with this prize package? Where'd you pick him up? He came out of a bookshop on High Street.
I work there. My name's Henry Reichman.
Forget it. I'm not interested.
Well, I don't know what this is all about, but I can promise you I'll never say a word.
You bet you won't. Get rid of him, Floyd.
Get rid of me? You can't mean you can't kill me.
You know too much, Reichman.
Well, I don't know a thing about you. I never saw either of you before. I don't know what you're trying to do.
Just seeing me is more than enough. When the news breaks, lady, you'd put one and one together and then go to the cops.
No, I wouldn't. I'll never tell a soul about it.
Reichman, I just don't take chances. It's too bad, but you stumbled into something that didn't concern you. Take him out, Floyd. Sure. Come on, you.
No, wait. I'll do anything you want me to. Anything at all.
Quit stalling, buddy. You put us behind schedule already.
Now, please, listen to me. I'll make a bargain with you. I'll kill the man I was mistaken for.
You what?
I'll kill him for you. The man you intended to kill. That's what you were going to do, isn't it? Then I'll do it for you, if you'll let me go. What do you say? Is it a bargain?
Tonight's the night, friends, for news I've been waiting 4 years to bring you. New Signal Ethyl is here. Post-war Signal Ethyl. The gasoline of tomorrow that you can enjoy today. Many signal stations from Canada to Mexico already have it, and the rest are being supplied just as fast as deliveries can be made. I could tell you about the pep and pickup and anti-knock of new Signal Ethyl. Oh, but that'd be spoiling the surprise. Just get a tank full of new Signal Ethyl and make that wonderful discovery for yourself. Touch your foot to the accelerator and feel that old motor get young again. Feel that performance you never dreamed was built into your car. Oh, there's real driving fun. New Signal Ethyl driving. So keep up that good habit of stopping at the friendly station in your neighborhood with Signal's familiar yellow and black circle sign. Be among the first to find out how much fun driving can be with new Signal Ethyl. I repeat, many stations already have it. Others are being supplied as fast as possible. And now, back to the Whistler.
Standing there in that cheap hotel room, facing the young gunman Floyd and the tall, gaunt man called Max, you hear your own words with horror, don't you, Henry? You had offered to kill a man to save your own life. It's unthinkable, monstrous, an insane slip of the tongue. Yet in the same instant, you know you meant it. For the hatred that has slowly festered in you has suddenly found an outlet, hasn't it? Perhaps if you had resorted to murder many years before... But Max is about to answer you, slowly licking his lips. He looks intrigued. Maybe he's the kind of a guy who will take a chance on a proposition like this.
You're not very funny, Reichman.
I mean it. I'm quite serious.
How long you going to listen to him make with the words, Max?
Let me do it. I'm a failure. I'm a coward, a nobody. But now for the first time in my life, tell me the name of your victim.
You going to listen to him all night, Max?
You've got to tell me. Tell me his name.
I don't think so. You know too much already.
Then what harm will it do? After all, if you're going to kill me anyway.
Yeah. There's something to that.
Of course there is. If I'm going to die, I have the right to know why. Whose place have I taken by accident?
You ought to be able to figure that out for yourself.
No. Tell me.
Why do you think Floyd picked you up?
Well, I've already told you I don't know what this is all about.
Whose raincoat are you wearing? That's the answer.
You mean Mr. Parker?
Sure. Mr. Eugene Parker.
But that's impossible. Why, he's a respectable man. Mr. Parker's a jeweler, repairs watches, things like that.
Well, things like that are what got him into trouble. He's a double-dealing little weasel.
Oh, I'm sure you made a mistake. Everybody knows Mr. Parker. He dropped into the store tonight because he didn't feel well.
Say he didn't feel well. He knew I was tailing him.
But he couldn't. He asked me to go to the drugstore to get a prescription for him. It's right here in my pocket.
Never mind.
But I just don't understand.
I think you do, Reichman. Mr. Eugene Parker knew Floyd was following him, so he ducked into your place and lent you his raincoat to throw Floyd off. He knew Floyd would stop you or pick you up, maybe even plug you and run.
But that means he knew I might be murdered by mistake.
Little thing like that wouldn't stop Parker. His own skin always comes first.
How do you know about him? What's your connection with him?
You know what a fence is?
A receiver of stolen property?
That's Parker. But his arithmetic isn't too good. In fact, it's so bad we came into town to subtract Mr. Parker from our scheme of things.
Let me do it for you. I've a reason now.
Are we going to listen to this chump all night, Mac?
Wait a minute, let him talk. He interests me.
You understand why, don't you? He was willing to let me die in his place. Now I have a right to kill him.
Okay. Let's say we let you do it.
Then I'm free to go. I saved my own life.
The double cross, Max. I better take care of him.
But you haven't anything to fear. The risk is all mine. Why, do you think I dare tell anyone about you? I couldn't. It'd mean my own neck.
Sounds pretty good, Reichman.
Oh, it's ideal for you. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. You'll eliminate him at no risk to yourselves.
He's right, Floyd. It'd put us in the clear. Nobody could touch us.
Yeah? How do you do it with Parker still back in that bookshop?
Well, let me call up the shop. I'll see if he's still there.
Keep away from that phone.
Well, then, call the number yourselves. The Dover Bookshop.
Look it up in the directory, Floyd.
I can tell you what.
I'm not taking any chances. Look it up, Floyd.
What do you want to waste time for, Max? I'll take him out and then go find Parker.
Get that number, I said. We'll find out where Parker is first. Then we'll decide what to do.
Floyd looks for the number with infuriating slowness, doesn't he, Henry? You could have dialed it in a moment, but they don't trust you. Of course, Mr. Eugene Parker trusted you. Trusted you to die in his place. Strange, isn't it, Henry? And a little frightening how all the passive hate you've ever known seems to shrink and harden and focus on that respectable citizen, Mr. Eugene Parker. That pompous little man, that would-be murderer. But perhaps it isn't wise to want to rush towards murder.
What's the matter? No answer?
No, not yet, Max. Want me to keep ringing?
Yeah, hang on a second.
I suspect Mr. Dover decided to close up for the night.
Hey, he'd expect you back. You got Parker's raincoat and umbrella.
Well, maybe Mr. Dover left a note tacked on the door for me.
What about Parker?
He was going to take a cab home. Maybe he got tired of waiting.
Yeah, I guess you're right. All right, forget it, Floyd.
Now what?
I think maybe we'll make a bargain.
You're nuts.
I don't think so. Come on, Reichman. We'll make sure they've left already. We're driving back to the shop.
Mr. Dover's closed up. There it is. You can see for yourself. The lights are out.
Pull up, Floyd.
Now what? We're going to sit here and look at the dump?
You talk too much, Floyd.
I told you there wouldn't be anybody here.
Didn't expect to find him. Only wanted to make sure.
Well, now what?
You know where Parker lives, Reichman?
Oh, yes, in a little house on the outskirts of town, about 10 minutes from here. He lives all alone.
Don't give me that. He's got a housekeeper.
She's in the hospital. She's been there since Sunday.
Okay, then. We're driving over to the house. And what happens after we get there depends on you.
You're on the way to Mr. Eugene Parker's house now, Henry. But you've made your bargain, Henry. Your life or Eugene Parker's. And you intend to keep your life, don't you? If only there was some way you could get rid of Parker and not have to pay the penalty. And at the same time save your own skin. But that's just wishful thinking.
Well, this is the back of the house.
It's dark. Looks like he's turned in already.
Yeah, maybe he didn't get home yet.
Oh, he's home. He told Reichman he was going straight home.
Look, light just came on upstairs.
Yeah. I guess he just went up to bed.
What do you want me to do now?
You still want to go through with this, Reichman?
If I say I don't...
Brother, that's just too bad.
I didn't ask you.
Don't give me none of that.
Easy, Floyd, easy. Not trying to back out, are you, Reichman?
Oh, no, of course not. But you must promise me.
You're not in any position to make demands. Take care of Parker. That's all.
Where's the gun I'll use?
Give me a shoulder automatic, Floyd. It's got a silencer.
You're nuts. If I slip me my rod, you'll start pumping us so full of lead we won't know what hit us.
Take the clip out first, you moron. Come on, unload it.
What for?
Do what I say.
What good will an empty revolver do me?
I don't take chances, Reichman. You can load it inside the house. Now, come here. Watch the way Floyd does it.
He's like this. And this here's the safety catch.
All right. I understand how it's done.
Well, now it's empty.
Give it to him.
Max, I still
Give it to him.
All right.
I'll leave just one cartridge in the clip.
Why, just one?
We're not taking any chance on you barricading yourself in there and using that on us. Put it in your pocket, Reichman.
All right.
Now, listen to me. Floyd will get you in the back of the house.
Are you sure? The door will be locked.
I know it'll be locked, but Floyd will get you in. We'll give you 5 minutes to do the job after Floyd comes back into the car.
Well, that may not be long enough. I won't know my way around the house. I'll have to move around pretty carefully.
All right, here. Here's a flashlight. You can use that.
Thank you. Just 5 minutes?
It'll be enough. If you're not out, we're coming in after you. And the cops couldn't get clear out here in less than 15 minutes. Remember that.
I'll do it. You don't have to worry about me.
Just worry about yourself, Reichman. Don't try any double-crossing. You've seen what happens to double-crossers like Parker.
I know what to expect. I know our bargain.
See, you don't forget. Okay, Floyd. Get him inside.
The rain has stopped, but the sky is still clouded as you and Floyd move silently through the darkness to the back of the house. What's that noise you hear, Henry? Oh, nothing really, just your heart thumping. It seems even louder than the scraping noise Floyd makes as he opens the back door with a key from his pocket. Then you step into the darkness of the house and close the door quietly behind you. And then you're alone, Henry, as if you're really alone for the first time in your life. A life that will remain yours only if you take another man's life without delay. You've got to go through with it now. You know that. You're trapped here. That thought makes you switch on the flashlight, doesn't it, Henry? And then carefully, slowly, you go out of the kitchen and into the front of the house and then up the staircase. Softer, Henry, softer. Suppose Mr. Eugene Parker should hear you. But he hasn't, not yet. You can see the light from his bedroom slanting into the hall. And then in another instant, barely a footstep away from his door, you suddenly remember. You haven't loaded the automatic pistol in your pocket. Now, really, Henry, if every murderer went about his business so carelessly... But then not all murderers are so intent on preserving their own lives at the expense of others. That's it. That's more like it. Now you may enter Mr. Eugene Parker's bedroom.
Good evening, Mr. Parker.
Oh, it's you, Reichman.
Were you expecting someone else?
What are you doing here?
I wanted to return your raincoat and umbrella. They're downstairs.
My raincoat? Just how did you get in my house?
I walked in.
What's the matter with you, Reichman? What's wrong? Why didn't you come back with my prescription?
I was delayed.
You didn't even go to that drugstore. Now you've broken into my house. What's got into you anyway?
I'm here about a debt, Mr. Parker.
Well, if it's the $4 you mean, I could have picked them up from you tomorrow.
I'm not thinking of your $4.
Well, what do you mean? What kind of debt are you talking about?
I'm here to collect a debt, not repay it.
What kind of nonsense is this? You don't know what you're saying.
The debt, Mr. Parker, is your life. Your life or mine.
I've listened to enough of this. I'm going to call the police.
I wouldn't advise it. I said I would not advise it.
You think you can... Where did you get that revolver?
From certain friends of yours. The friends you knew would see me wearing your raincoat and carrying your umbrella.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do, Mr. Parker. You know exactly why I ought to kill you.
Kill me?
Well, does that surprise you so very much?
Well, I don't know what you mean. I can't imagine what's got into you.
You only waste time by lying, Mr. Parker. You see, I've met Max and Floyd. You do know them, don't you?
What are they? What have they told you about me?
They've told me enough to make me want to kill you.
No. No, you can't. You can't.
Why shouldn't I?
You'll be caught. You have no reason to kill me.
Well, you expected Floyd and Max to murder me?
No, I didn't. I swear I didn't. All I wanted was a little time. I knew they'd learn their mistake right away.
And you knew they'd rectify their mistake by killing me? Or perhaps you hoped they'd kill me and not realize they'd made a mistake. That was it, wasn't it?
No.
That's exactly what you were counting on.
No, I was desperate. But I didn't mean you any real harm. When I came into the shop, I thought I could slip out the back way. And when Dover insisted you get the prescription for me, I didn't really think about you, Henry.
Yes, I know.
You can't gain anything by killing me. Not a thing.
I stand to lose my life if I don't.
If it's money you want,
No.
I'll pay you well. I know Dover pays you starvation wages. I'll give you enough so you can leave the bookshop. You won't have to work there again.
I don't want your money, Mr. Parker.
Don't be a fool. Nobody need ever know about tonight. I'll certainly never tell. $5,000, Henry. I'll give you $5,000 if you'll simply walk out of here now. $10,000. I have the cash in the house. I can get it for you now.
Don't move, Mr. Parker.
But if you'll only let me get it for
move.
you can't shoot me, Henry. You can't do it. You can't.
I think I can, Mr. Parker. Because I must.
No, Henry. I'm a sick man. You know I'm not well. If you had any mercy, No.
Well, Reichman?
He's dead.
All right, get in the car.
But you promised me.
I'm still keeping my bargain. I'm making sure you don't get picked up till we're out of this burg.
But he's dead. And nobody will know I ever had anything to do with it.
Get in the car, I said. And give Floyd the gun.
All right, here you are. Thank you very much.
What's so funny?
Well, do you expect me to mourn the saving of my own life?
We can talk about that at the hotel. Let's go, Floyd.
Haven't you kept me in this room long enough?
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's time we all got out.
Am I free now?
You will be when we get to the street. You just remember what I said. Keep your mouth shut about tonight.
I will. Nobody shall ever know.
All right, Floyd. Open the door. Now, you, Reichman, follow Floyd.
Hey, wait.
What's up?
There's a cop at the end of the hall.
What?
A cop? I told you, Max, you should have let me take care of him in the first place.
I know. Nothing's going right for me since I hit this rotten town.
But he's dead. Parker's dead. I don't know anything about any policeman.
I didn't think you'd have nerve enough to cross us up, Reichman.
What? Parker's dead, I tell you.
It's too bad you can't prove it.
But I can prove it.
Yeah, maybe you can at that, Floyd. Open the gun.
That's it. You see, Oh, no, don't.
What's the matter, Reichman?
Oh, you've got to believe me.
Sure, we'll believe you. Pull the clip out of the gun, Floyd. How about it?
Double-crossed us.
No, he's dead, I tell you.
This rod hasn't been fired since I gave it to him.
No, now wait, let me explain.
Kind of late to explain, Reichman. You made a deal with Parker, didn't you?
No, he's dead.
Sure, without a shot being fired.
Yes.
You had him call the cops. And now they're outside.
Max, I told you.
No, he couldn't have called the police. He was dead.
You turned us in, Reichman, but it's the last double cross you'll pull.
Wait a minute, Floyd.
Wait, look, with the record I've got,
No, please don't.
The announcement I made at the opening of this program is so important, I want to repeat it. Tonight's the night, friends, for news I've been waiting 4 years to bring you. New Signal Ethyl is here. Post-war Signal Ethyl, the gasoline of tomorrow that you can enjoy today. Many signal stations from Canada to Mexico already have it, and the rest are being supplied just as fast as deliveries can be made. Now, I could tell you about the pep and pickup and anti-knock of New Signal Ethyl, but that'd be spoiling the surprise. Just get a tank full of New Signal Ethyl and make that wonderful discovery for yourself. Touch your foot to the accelerator and feel that old motor get young again. Feel that performance you never dreamed was built into your car. Ah, there's real driving fun. New Signal Ethyl driving. So keep up that good habit of stopping at the friendly station in your neighborhood with Signal's familiar yellow and black circle sign. Be among the first to find out how much fun driving can be with new Signal Ethel. I repeat, many stations already have it. Others are being supplied as fast as possible. And now, back to the Whistler.
Well, Henry, the police broke down that door, but not quite soon enough for you, did they? And as you lie on that police cot, you realize that murder is a pretty rugged business to fool around with. You're dying, Henry. Dying. And all for what? A murder you didn't commit, a misunderstanding. Yes, it was a misunderstanding. You didn't kill Mr. Parker. Well, not with a gun, anyway, but he was dead. Yes, Mac and Floyd found that out at the police station a little later.
Look, you got nothing on me. Just because Floyd here loses his head and plugs a guy, you got nothing to hold me on.
Take it easy, Max. You were there, and if we can't hang a rap on you as an accomplice, we got plenty of other charges. We've been looking for you a long time, Max.
Floyd, you stupid dope. Why'd you have to go and lose your head? Difference did it make? They had us anyway. Reichman double-crossed us, and Parker phoned the cops. They had us cornered.
What are you talking about? Who's Parker?
As if you didn't know. Mr. Eugene Parker, who tipped you off where we were.
Nobody tipped us off where you were.
What?
And if you mean the Eugene Parker who lives out on Elmhurst Road, he couldn't have tipped us off. We just had a call out there. He's been dead for a couple of hours.
Dead?
Yeah. Neighbors thought they saw somebody snooping around and got suspicious, so we went out. Found Parker dead. From a heart attack.
A heart attack?
That's what the coroner says. Looks like he had some sort of a shock. What do you know about it?
Nothing. Nothing at all. We must have gotten the name mixed up.
Yeah? And what was that about Parker calling us? You thought that was why the patrolman came to your room at the hotel?
Well, yes, sir.
That cop was coming to tell you parked your car in a loading zone. In this town, it's a $5 fine. But I guess it's going to cost you two a whole lot more than that.
Next Monday at 9 o'clock, The Whistler will bring you another strange tale. The Whistler is broadcast for your entertainment by the marketers of Signal gasoline and motor oil and fine quality automotive accessories, and by your neighborhood Signal dealer. This program, directed by George W. Allen, with tonight's story by Les Edgley, music by Wilbur Hatch, is transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. This is Marvin Miller speaking, and suggesting that you let every traffic signal remind you that you do go farther with Signal gasoline. Yes, you do go farther with Signal. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
"78 years ago, August 27th, 1945, The Whistler here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Another West Coast show was originated by Jack Webb and ended up in its final season. In fact, we think this is the final show of Jeff Regan Investigator. Frank Graham, who played Jeff Regan in this series, committed suicide not long after this show aired, so we believe that this was the last show of the series. August 27th, 1950, that will be next.
Radio has always been a source of quick, accurate information during a disaster.
When you hear the alert signal, tune to these Conelrad frequencies, 640 and 1240 on your regular radio. During a national emergency, all power lines may be temporarily cut off. To make sure you receive the necessary survival information, keep a battery-operated radio in your family shelter. For accurate information and instructions during enemy attack, it's 640 and 1240 on your standard radio.
I mentioned earlier our friend Honeywell used the Buy Me a Coffee function to support us at classicradio.stream. You can do that too. You can also learn more about building a collection of your own. You can find our social media links there, and you can buy me a coffee. And that's at classicradio.stream. Now, Frank Nelson, Jeff Regan Investigator, 74 years ago, August 27th, 1950.
My name's Regan. I work for Anthony J. Lyon, Detective Bureau. They call me the Lion's Eye.
Sunday at 8:30, and CBS brings you Jeff Regan Investigator, starring Frank Graham as Regan, with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. So stand by for mystery, suspense, and adventure in tonight's transcribed story, Gentlemen Prefer Horses.
Like they say in the racing form, it was a clear day, track fast, and a field of 7. Any way you looked at it, the smart money was on the Stevens entry. Except for me. I had a hot tip from a guy named Crenshaw, a jockey who finished in a dead heat with a bullet. I walked into the Lion's office that Tuesday afternoon. His hands were folded across 200 pounds of chest, and he wasn't being too particular about the cigar ashes on his vest. It was an expensive cigar. Kind he lit up on his birthday, New Year's, and at funerals.
Well, come in, Jeffrey, my boy. This is a fine day, a very fine day.
Yeah, I can tell by the smell. $1 cigar?
50 center. They were out of my usual brand.
Ah, price of rope's gone up.
Who cares? Today we're living off the fat of the land. Today we're having champagne and caviar. Figuratively, of course.
Yeah, sounds like fancy figures. Who furnished them?
Who but our new client? Jeffrey, today you and I have the pleasure of serving a young man named Boots Crenshaw.
How's that again?
Boots Crenshaw.
I just wanted to be sure.
Oh, the name. It is a little odd. You see, Boots was quite a noted jockey several years ago. Retired, moved to Los Angeles. Now he needs our help.
How much?
$100 worth, coin of the realm. Oh, what a day.
$100 will buy a lot of help.
That's the beauty of it. He doesn't need a lot. It's so simple. We do practically nothing.
Yeah, I'll bet.
All you do is run down to his hotel and talk to him. The Francesca on East 8th Street. What he wants is so childishly simple, I won't even bore you with the details.
Look, General, if it's that simple, maybe you better hire somebody on day rates to handle it. I don't know a thing about horses.
Exactly. That's why you're ideal for the job.
Because I don't know anything about horses?
That's right. You see, Jeffrey, my boy, although Boots Crenshaw is an ex-jockey, he says there's only one thing in life he can't stand.
Don't tell me.
You guessed it, Jeffrey. Horses.
I should have seen it for an outside bet right there, but I played it for a sure thing. I drove down Main to 8th and east until I spotted the Francesca Hotel. 3 floors of cracked plaster and a fire escape. It was old when Santa Anita was an onion patch. I parked around the corner and went in. A desk clerk with empty eyes and no teeth gave me 307. I went up, tripped on a hole in the carpet, and knocked. 3 minutes later, the door opened wide enough for one eye to look out.
Yeah?
You Crenshaw?
Long shot.
Where's Crenshaw?
Want a tip?
I already lost. I'm looking for Boots Crenshaw.
Who?
I told you.
No, I mean, if Boots was in, who would I say wanted him?
Look, he sent for me.
Sure. Who?
Okay, I'm Regan.
Did he say Regan?
Yeah, Regan.
Oh, let him in. Come on in, Regan. I've been expecting you.
He wasn't.
Oh, long shot? He's the cautious type. Ain't that right, long shot?
Yeah, of Cautious.
Regan, Longshot Regan.
Fine.
He's the guy to call the Lion's Eye. Have a chair, Regan, have a chair.
Chair.
Thanks. Well, the lion tells me you got a problem.
Maybe yes, maybe no. That's what I hired you to find out.
Ah, you're the curious type, huh?
Well, it's maybe not that simple. How do you want me to give it to you?
You're calling it. Just line him up at the barrier.
Oh, you already know I'm an ex-jockey.
Yeah, lion said.
Well, then I'll start there. Up to 5 years ago, I was doing all right. I could boot 'em home with the best of 'em. Then one day at the fairgrounds, I took a spill. Bad. The doc salted it away for 6 months in the hospital and then ended up by telling me I don't ride no more. Well, that's tough on a guy who's been a jock all his life. Longshot will tell you, huh, Longshot?
Yeah, tough.
Anyhow, after I get out, I bum around the oil for a while, but my dough runs out. So, me and Longshot gets an idea.
Yeah, idea.
Know what the idea was, Regan?
No. What was the idea?
Simple. All me and Longshot knows is horses.
Horses.
So we decide to sell tips.
Great idea.
Oh, but that's not all there is to it. We sell special tips.
Yeah, special.
Yeah, $100 a throw. But get this. You get your money back if our pick don't come in.
You don't need any private eye.
No, it really works. The big spenders go for it. Oh, sure, we have to pay back a lot of times, but we got enough winners to keep going pretty well. Up to a couple of weeks ago.
When your horses stop coming in.
Oh, no, the horses do fine, but there's one spender, my number one customer. We depend on him. And poof, all of a sudden he disappears.
Yeah, poof.
Now you're beginning to talk my language.
Yeah.
I don't mean you, Longshot.
Oh, sorry.
So I look for the missing customers, that it, Boots?
Yeah, sure, that's it.
Mm-hmm. What do I do when I find him?
Just find out about him, who he is.
Who he is?
Yeah.
You don't know who he is?
Oh, that's just it. He always sends a chauffeur in with it, though. A guy named Mike. Mike says the spender's name is McMillan.
Yeah, McMillan.
Yeah, but you don't believe it.
Oh, sure. Only he's a good customer, Regan. I don't want to lose him.
Maybe what you really want is the connection between this McMillan and the spill you took back at the fairgrounds.
Oh, there ain't no connection. I didn't say that. You get me all confused.
Me too.
You spent a half an hour giving me background that led to nothing. Now, there was a reason.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the whole thing hangs together like a string of Chinese firecrackers.
No, I'm giving it to you straight. You gotta believe me, Regan. You gotta.
Boots. My fee says I gotta find your man. But believe you? Nope. Nothing says I gotta do that. I got up and walked out, leaving Boots Crenshaw and his friend Longshot looking at each other like bewildered kids after an unloaded gun went off. Well, I had two things. A chauffeur named Mike and a spender who probably wasn't named McMillan. I headed down the stairs toward the postage stamp lobby. That's when something caught my eye. She was tall, slim, and blonde, but didn't come out of a bottle. She was looking at me, and for some reason, what she saw made her cry. Wait a minute. Wait.
What do you want?
Well, you were looking at me, remember?
Well, that's not true.
Well, then you need bifocals.
I thought you were someone else.
Ah, sure. Yeah. Well, your mistake. See you around.
Oh, Mr. Regan.
Wow. Now we're getting acquainted.
I was outside the door. I heard your name. I'm his wife.
Crenshaw's?
Yes. What does Boots want with you, Mr. Regan? What did he tell you?
Nothing.
But he must have told you something.
Well, only about McMillan.
McMillan?
You don't know McMillan, huh?
No. Mr. Regan, Boots is in some kind of trouble. I've been scared stiff. If you know what it is.
I don't. But maybe you can help. Look, there's a bar across the street. I got a clean handkerchief. Let's talk. She didn't say anything, but I got the answer from her eyes. I held the door open for her, and we walked out onto the sidewalk. It was a cinch. Boots Crenshaw wasn't worth all those tears, but his wife kept on shedding him anyhow. At least until we got to the crosswalk at the corner. That's when something else happened. A baby blue convertible came cruising by, looking for a place to park. Chauffeur driven. It paused, then disappeared around the corner. The girl flinched. I had to choose between Mrs. Crenshaw or the convertible. The way she stared told me to choose the car. It took me 5 minutes and a walk around the block to locate it. The uniform and puttees were gone, so I slipped into the driver's seat. Blue and gold everywhere. Blue paint, blue upholstery. Gold steering wheel and knobs. I reached down for the registration. I didn't expect it to say Macmillan. I didn't expect what I got either.
Save you the trouble, Peeper. It says Mike Johnson, 15 Windmill Road, Pacific Palisades.
I should have looked in the rear vision mirror. He was in the back.
So you like the car, huh?
It's nice.
Maybe you'd like to have one like it someday, huh?
I'll wait for the 51s.
Oh, this one's nice. Notice the seats. Foam rubber, real leather.
I don't like the color.
Do 110 with no strain.
Yeah, well, I'll get out and you show me.
No. You better try driving it.
Too late. Some other day.
You ain't heard my sales pitch yet. Look in that rear vision mirror again.
That heater didn't come with it.
No. A gun is my sales persuader. Now, I think you do want to drive it after all, don't you, Peeper?
He moved up front beside me. I drove. He headed me out Lakewood Boulevard. It was dark before we passed the airplane plants. And then just when I decided I was going to end up off the end of some pier, he had me turn into the oil fields. He picked a side road that was just 2 tracks in the goo. Then the ride was over, and we pulled up in front of a backdrop of pumping oil wells.
Okay, Peeper, stop here and shut it off. Like I said, drives nice, huh?
Doesn't use this much oil.
No, none at all between changes. I made you come here just so as we can talk.
Sure. Story of your life, maybe.
Story? No, I'm just going to tell you one little thing, that's all. You want to guess?
Sure. You're going to tell me who pays you and what for.
You talk awful tough, awful long.
What's Macmillan got on Boots Crenshaw?
Get out.
Why the buildup of the $100 tip?
I said get out.
Okay. Okay.
Now walk a little ways. That's far enough. Wait a minute. Okay, Peeper.
How do I get it? In the back?
Told you I wanted to tell you just one thing, and here it is. Boots Crenshaw doesn't want your help. Lay off.
I waited for the shots. They didn't come. By the time I turned around, the baby blue convertible had disappeared behind some pretty black oil wells. It took me an hour and a half to walk back to the boulevard and hitch a ride to my car. And it took another hour to buck the evening traffic out to Pacific Palisades. 15 Windmill Road was Spanish and set way back behind a mailbox with no name. But it could support a lot of $100 tips. I pushed the bell and tried to figure out what I'd say when someone answered. That turned out to be no problem.
Yes. Well, hello, stranger. Come in. Come in out of the fog.
She was small and compact and brunette. She wore black horn-rimmed glasses, but they didn't get in the way. You could say the same for the sweater she was wearing.
Well, I said come in.
Yeah, you did. Thanks.
It's damp tonight. I don't like to keep people standing on the doorstep.
You're real thoughtful.
There's a warm fireplace in here. You'd like the fireplace.
Sure.
We can talk better in there. You do want to talk about something, I suppose.
Lead the way.
There. That's better, isn't it? My name's Gloria.
Mine's Regan.
What are you selling, Mr. Regan?
Cadillacs.
We already have 2.
This one's baby blue.
Oh, you've met Mike.
I sure have.
Is he in trouble again?
I'll talk to his boss about that.
Mr. Stevens?
I was told it was Macmillan.
No. There's nobody named Macmillan here. This is the Stevens place.
Oh, who are you?
I told you.
No, I mean, to the boss.
I'm a secretary. I take dictation.
Yeah.
What do you want, Mr. Regan?
I'll tell the boss.
You couldn't wait for him.
Oh? When's he due back?
What did you say?
That's no answer.
Okay. So he won't be back for several weeks. I thought...
You thought wrong, lady. This is business.
About that, fireplace.
So long, lady.
Yeah. I'll tell Stevens you called.
By the time I got back out to my car, the fog was really thick. I drove and thought about that name, Stevens. I wasted some time finding a real estate office that was open late. The secretary was right. Stevens did own the house. I spent the drive downtown thinking the whole thing over. It was past 11 when I got back to the Francesca Hotel for another go at Boots Crenshaw. He was in bed, but he didn't get up to answer the door. He wouldn't be answering any more doors. He was sprawled across the covers, face up. In one hand, he had his riding silks I'd seen tacked up on the wall. But this time I really noticed them, the color. They were baby blue and gold.
This is CBS, and you are listening to Gentlemen Prefer Horses. Tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, Investigator.
It began when an ex-jockey who sold tips hired me to find out what happened to one of his best customers. He said the customer's name was McMillan, but a brunette secretary said it was Stevens. Wouldn't matter to the ex-jockey anymore. When I went back to his hotel to tell him, he was in bed. Not asleep. Dead. He was holding on to baby blue and gold shirt, the silks he'd worn in his last race. I called the police, and a tall, nervous lieutenant showed up.
Your name?
Regan.
His name?
Boots Crenshaw.
What's he to you?
A corpse.
Tell me.
Okay, he was a client. I'm with the Lion Agency. Here.
Jeff Regan. License. Uh-huh. Okay. He, didn't pay his fee?
Oh, you don't think I killed him?
Just thought I'd ask.
You got your answer.
You carry a gun?
Sometimes.
Uh-huh. I'll keep it for you.
I got a license for that.
Sure. Tell me more.
All right, he was an ex-jockey. He sold tips, hired me to find out why his best customer quit buying.
Customer's name?
McMillan, he said.
Find him?
No.
You're doing good.
The jockey had a partner. His name was Longshot Coy.
This even gets better, Regan. What else?
I met a fat guy in a blue and gold Cadillac. I met Crenshaw's wife. They didn't give me anything.
You travel fast.
I get paid for it.
Your story's lousy, Regan.
It's my story.
Okay, Ed, run him in.
Wait a minute.
Oh. Now there's more, huh?
No, look, I phoned you. Call Anthony J. Lyon, my boss. He'll check the story.
Okay, Gumshoe. We'll try that for a while. Stay close.
My gun.
Later. Maybe. Okay, Ed, let him go.
I headed outside for fresh air, but I didn't get far. A little guy buried in a big overcoat sidled up next to me.
Hey, Regan, I gotta talk to you. Surgeon.
It was Longshot Coy, somewhere underneath that upturned collar. He stuck with me. We turned down the block, away from the streetlights. Then he grabbed my arm.
Listen, Regan, I didn't kill Boots. I came in and found him that way, so help me. It was just a couple of minutes ago, maybe 15 or 20. The cops are going to make me the favorite, Regan. I'm not even an entry.
I'm listening.
I heard the shot. I was coming up the stairs. I heard it. One shot, then I found him dead.
Mm-hmm. See anything?
Whoever did it got away.
Well, why didn't you call the cops?
Me there practically when a shot was fired. The room clerk would tell him I'd gone up. I'd be a cinch to take the rap.
Well, the room clerk's going to tell him anyway.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
You didn't just stop me to feel sorry for yourself.
Oh, no, I guess not. Regan, listen, there's something screwy. Something that don't add up right.
The wife?
Yeah. How do you know?
What about her?
She and Boots, they fought.
When?
Back in Chicago yesterday, all the time.
Why?
The usual reason. Other day.
Boots like to play the field, huh?
He used to, but not lately. He loved Susan, his wife. He really loved her, Regan.
Mm-hmm. You think she's in it?
I don't know.
What about the fall?
Huh?
The fall. Fall Boots took back at the fairgrounds.
Oh, that.
Finish it.
We all make mistakes, Regan.
Mm-hmm. Boots threw that race, didn't he?
Well, I didn't say that.
With the dough, he and his wife left town, took a tour, finally wound up in L.A.
Boots was hurt bad, Regan.
Yeah, but that wasn't part of the fix.
I don't know.
You're leaving something out, Longshot.
I didn't kill him, honest, I didn't. What do I do, Regan?
Go back there and turn yourself in.
I take the rap. It'd be a cinch to photo finish with a gas chamber. I can't do that, Regan. I can't.
It's your choice.
Yeah, I guess it's my choice. I'll see you later, Regan. I gotta think.
Long shot Coy wandered off in a daze, and I headed back to the bar across from the Francesca Hotel. The phone booth was empty. I called my boss, Anthony J. Lyon, asked him to phone Chicago and dig up everything he could on Boots Crenshaw and Long Shot Coy. And while he was at it, I told him to check on a man named Stevens. Well, the line was going to be busy for a while, so I pulled up a bar stool. Then it hit me. I'd counted in everybody but the fat guy in the blue and gold convertible. I headed for my car in a hurry. Only I was too late.
Get in, Regan. I've been waiting for you.
He was sitting hunched behind the wheel, watching the fog. The gun in his hand was big and steady.
You had to show up sooner or later.
Just like Crenshaw.
Get in. Regan, I warned you to keep out of this. I told you it was nothing but trouble. You see, I was right. Trouble for you. This time I brought my knuckles, Regan. No answer? Oh, ain't that a shame?
When I came out of it, there was me and more fog, and the guy with the brass knuckles was gone. I tried to shake out the fog and get up. On the third try, I made it. The street was empty, and when I got out, even the damp air smelled good. I made my way back into the bar and found the phone booth and a nickel. The Lion answered.
Regan, where have you been? It's been over an hour since you called.
What'd you find out, Lion?
What did I find out, Jeffrey, my boy? I found out everything, but everything.
Okay, out with it.
Oh, you'll be proud of me for this. Proud indeed.
If we ever get to it.
Very well, Jeffrey. I found out Boots Crenshaw was injured on July 13th, 1946. Fairgrounds track, 7th race, 100,000 added. He was riding for...
The Stevens Stables.
Jeffrey, that's true. How did you know?
Go on.
The name of the horse was Jade Lady, the favorite, post position 2. Boots Crenshaw was...
Wearing blue and gold. Stables colors.
Jeffrey, you're absolutely psychic. Yeah, let me see, where was I? Oh, yes, the horse fell while pulling away as he came into the home stretch. He was racing on the rail. There were those who said Boots deliberately threw the race. However, the racing steward said it was an accident.
Don't stop.
Well, Boots was laid up in the Chicago hospital for some time. Eventually, he recovered, left the city with his wife. They traveled extensively and then came to Los Angeles. That's all, Jeffrey.
What did you get on Long Shot Coy?
No, very little. He was picked up a couple of times for bookmaking, otherwise a clean record.
That finish it?
Oh, wait, I almost forgot. There's one thing more. The police have located Susan Crenshaw, Boots' wife. They've arrested her on suspicion of the murder of her husband.
That really finishes it.
Jeffrey, what do you mean?
I mean, the guy we need is Stevens, the owner of Jade Lady. The horse Boots was riding when he took the fall.
You think he's behind this, Jeffrey?
Well, it makes sense that way. Boots louses up a $100,000 purse. The horse has to be destroyed. Stevens not only loses the race, but some people say Boots framed him.
Yes, I see what you mean.
So Stevens follows Boots to Los Angeles, sets up the contact, then settles the score.
Jeffrey?
Yeah?
I've got news for you, Jeffrey.
Okay, what news?
You're sure about Mr. Stevens?
Okay, so we're supposed to have left town. You know something different?
Oh, Mr. Stevens did leave town, Jeffrey, quite some time ago.
What are you getting at?
In fact, it's safe to say he is not coming back. You see, my boy, your number one suspect, Mr. Stevens, is dead. Good night, Jeffrey.
It had to be Stevens. It made sense with Stevens. The time, place, the motive, everything. Even the blue and gold car fit with Boots Crenshaw's riding, only Stevens was dead. That fixed it. Somebody was running the Stevens stables, and that somebody was my answer. I headed the car out Sunset and didn't spare the horsepower. 25 minutes later, I pulled up in front of the place. The fog was thicker than the hair on a Russian wolfhound. I headed around toward the back of the house. I was almost on top of it when I saw it. The big baby blue convertible, white sidewalls and all, sitting in the driveway. From somewhere behind the car, somebody was coming to meet me. It didn't figure to be a welcoming committee. Now, the police still had my gun. Suddenly, that somebody was named Mike, and he was diving at me, only this time I was ahead, and I stayed that way. There was a gun in his hands. It was pointing in my direction. Only I caught the barrel and bent it back, brought it down in his ear. He lay there, peaceful, a halo of fog in his head. I didn't wait, because a light flicked on back of the house, and I headed for it in a hurry. I stood looking inside. The room was big and rich-looking, and inside it, there were people. 2 of them. Through the window, I could see a small guy in an overcoat and a girl with a gun. I didn't wait for an invitation. Drop the gun, lady.
Not a chance, Regan.
The shot went high. I dove across the room toward her. Long shot was right behind me. On the next one, he was where he shouldn't have been. The bullet grazed his head, and he went down unconscious. By the time she could turn the gun on me, I was there first.
Regan, let go!
Like you said, lady, not a chance.
Regan, my wrist!
Ah. Now it's the other way, Gloria.
You haven't got anything on me.
A book full.
You can't prove...
Did you kill Boots? Easy. Everything fits you that fits Stevens.
What do you mean?
My answer came out, Mr. Stevens. I was looking for a man. Now, that was my mistake. Change it around, call the man Mrs. Stevens, and you come up with the same total.
Stevens is dead.
Sure, but you're the wife. You've been running the stables. You're Mrs. H.V. Stevens.
Okay. So what if I am?
The blue and gold convertible told me you were mixed up in this. Crenshaw's shirt was blue and gold. It spelled Fairgrounds, 7th race, a horse named Jade Lady.
He threw the race.
Yeah, sure. But that wasn't why you tailed him.
Yeah?
Yeah, he ran out on you, lady. If you wanted to sew him up, you could have done it after the race. But you weren't interested in a dead horse. You were interested in a live jockey.
It was his wife. She took him away.
She had a lot of nerve.
He left Chicago with her. He left me with the hospital bills.
Like a woman scorned. So you caught up with him, tried to force him back. But when he stuck with a wife, you killed him. Longshot Coy was going to be next. You brought him out here to the house.
Yeah. Boots and I are 2 of a kind, Regan. Dirty little rat that could get me off. Never mind. Go on. Phone the police.
You know what? I will. You know, it looks like you're entered in a race for the gas chamber, sweetheart. And the way I figure it, you'll finish 5 lengths ahead. Well, the cops took it from there. Mike and his boss, Gloria Stevens, joined the paddy wagon set, and a young medic slapped some bandages on Longshot Coy's head. He was like new. Me? I watched the fog settle over the blue and gold convertible and drove home. The next afternoon, I dropped in on the Lion. He didn't look so chipper. The cigar he was smoking was strictly 3 for a dime.
Oh, hello, Jeffrey.
Why the long face, General?
Jeffrey, I'm not going to hide it from you. When the truth is hidden, only the liar must suffer.
Are you okay?
Jeffrey, my boy, I lied to you. I did not receive a $100 retainer from Boots Crenshaw.
What?
You see, Jeffrey, he had such an honest face, such an innocent look. The dirty crook.
You didn't.
Yes, Jeffrey, I did. Instead of taking the money, I let him talk me into taking a tip. Extra special tips, I believe he called it.
So you didn't collect a nickel?
No, I took the tip. After all, he guaranteed to pay me if I lost. How was I to know he was a cheat, a cad, a blackguard? Besides, it was sort of a hunch.
A hunch?
The horse, Autumn Frolic, reminded me of my youth.
How much did you bet?
$10 on the nose. Oh, why
Save
did
it,
I...
Ryan. Did you see the afternoon paper?
No, why?
First race, Del Mar. Winner, Autumn Frolic. Paid $21 for a $2 ticket.
What did you say, Jeffrey?
You won.
Jeffrey, we're rich. We're millionaires. We're in paradise.
Thanks to Boots Crenshaw.
Yes, of course. Oh, dear Boots, a fine young man, a good soul. Jeffrey, remind me to write a note of condolence to his mother.
Jeff Regan Investigator was written tonight by William Frug, directed by Sterling Tracy, and stars Frank Graham as Regan with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. Original music is by Dick Arant. Jeff Regan Investigator is heard transcribed each week at the same time over CBS. Joe Walter speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Frank Graham, by all accounts, was on the fast track to a highly successful career in radio, television, and animation. Voice talent in great demand. His success with CBS as an announcer, narrator, actor, and producer was being noticed. He was already being cited as an up-and-comer throughout the entertainment world. But on the morning newspapers of September 3rd, 1950, he was found dead. Carbon monoxide poisoning, apparently at his own hand, in the garage of his Hollywood Hills home. He was found clutching a photo of his current lady friend Mildred Rossi, a talented young animator for Walt Disney in Burbank. Graham apparently taken his own life in response to his disappointment over the process of his relationship with Miss Rossi. It is believed that the show did not air, according to newspaper accounts of his suicide. They were scheduled to air the show that night. Graham had completed apparently several more episodes, but didn't state if the network would be airing them. They didn't, and that was the end of Jeff Regan Investigator, literally and figuratively. And a sad ending to another wonderful life taken by suicide. Jeff Regan Investigator, as it was originally broadcast 74 years ago, August 27th, 1950. All right, coming up next, another episode of Superman.
Power failure, doing without gas or electric service, is something we've all experienced at one time or another. But in time of disaster due to natural causes or enemy attack, we might have to do without such service for a long time. With refrigerated foods, this can be serious. If power is out for more than 12 hours, eat or cook the most perishable items in your refrigerator before they spoil. If you can't cook them, throw them out. Persons who own freezers should consult their service books. Remember, when power fails, keep your refrigerators and freezers closed.
Now the penultimate episode in the adventures of Superman and the Dr. Roebling and the Voice Machine. This episode of the program originally broadcast 83 years ago, August 27th, 1941.
Presenting the transcription feature, Superman.
Look! Up in the sky!
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman! Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Superman, who can leap tall buildings at a single bound, race a speeding bullet to its target, bend steel in his bare hands, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth and justice.
And now to our story. When Duke Renard, warned by a mysterious woman that the police and district attorney were closing in on his hideout, bound Clark Kent and Editor Perry White to their chairs and set the frame building on fire, he was certain it was the end of them. But Kent, as Superman, rescued Editor White from the blazing inferno a moment before the police arrived, although he was forced to knock him out in order to assume his real identity. Meanwhile, Renard and his two henchmen, Curly and Spud, got away in a high-powered car and are on their way to the Conway Turnpike, a deserted stretch of road where they plan to intercept the car carrying Henry Benson and his guards. Kent and Perry White are back in the latter's office at the Daily Planet. White is nursing a badly swollen jaw and complaining bitterly about it. Listen.
I still don't see what right you had to haul off and sock me. Well, I can't even talk.
Sorry, Mr. White, but it was the only way. You wanted to jump out the window. Certainly a slightly painful jaw is better than a couple of broken legs.
I wonder. What'd you hit me with, a sledgehammer?
No, just my fist. It's for your own good.
Next time, try not to be so good to me. Oh.
Well, if we just keep that ice bag on the swelling, I'm sure it'll go down.
I don't know why I haven't sent you packing. Incidentally, how did we get out of that burning building?
Why, through the hall.
Through the hall?
Yes.
You're crazy. It's like the inside of a furnace.
Oh, well, I managed to find an opening where there wasn't any flame.
What happened to the police? Did they ever get there?
Oh, yes, just as we left.
Did Warren, the district attorney, see you?
No, I slipped around the back of the house, hailed a taxicab, and brought you to the office.
I don't know, Kent. Sometimes I can't figure you out. The stories you tell are a little fantastic.
Well, now, there's certainly nothing fantastic about hailing a cab, is there?
No, but I saw that hallway. It was blazing. And yet you carried me through it, down the steps, around to the back of the house, and hailed a cab. All without even scorching a shoe. Well, what's the difference? We've certainly made a mess of things. Instead of rounding up Duke Renard and his gang of cutthroats, we came close to losing our lives.
Oh, we'll round them up yet. Benson is being transferred from the city jail at 9 o'clock. Renard's men are going to intercept the car on the Conway Turnpike. I'll be there to see that they don't.
Oh, don't be a stupid fool. That's a job for the police. I'm not going to be responsible for anything happening to you.
Now, look, we've gone through all that, Mr. White. Nothing's going to happen to me. I got it all figured out.
What do you mean?
There'll be 2 jail guards in the car with Benson. One at the wheel and one in the back seat. I'm going to be the third.
The third what?
The third guard. Only one difficulty. I need a uniform.
Are you mad, Kent? What is all this nonsense?
It isn't nonsense, Mr. White. If I can get a prison guard's uniform, I'll make the trip in Benson's car. Naturally, knowing that Duke Renard's men are lying in wait for us, I'll be in a position to handle them.
Why can't the police do it? You're a newspaper reporter, not a cop. At least, I'm paying you to be a reporter.
Oh, you get your money's worth in an exclusive story, an eyewitness account of an attempt made on Henry Benson's life.
Sure. Unless you stop a bullet.
If I stop a bullet, it'll stay stopped.
What?
Well, I won't get in the way of any bullets.
That's a bright remark. I suppose if one of those mugs fires point blank at you, you'll just catch the bullet and flip it back at him, huh?
I'm afraid only Superman can do that, Mr. White.
Superman. You're beginning to sound like that copy boy, Jimmy Olsen.
Well, that's not getting us anywhere. The point is simply this, Mr. White. Someone is trying to silence Henry Benson for fear he'll spill the beans about that $1 million shortage.
Yeah, that much I know.
All right. Now, I told you earlier this evening that I suspected District Attorney Warren.
Yes, and I told you were crazy. Warren prepared the case against Benson, and Warren hooked Duke Renard with an $85,000 fine and some crooked building deal.
You may be right. Probably Warren himself isn't involved, but someone on the inside is. Otherwise, Renard wouldn't be tipped off to confidential information the way he is.
Now, wait a minute. I seem to remember your telling me that a woman called Renard and warned him that the police were closing in.
That's right.
Well, how does a woman get mixed up in this?
I don't know. But whoever she is, she certainly has some way of knowing what's going on. That's why it might be dangerous to tell the police about this 9 o'clock affair. See, it may get back to Renard that the police are wise, and, well, then where are we?
Well, you may have something there. What do you propose to do again?
Get hold of a prison guard's uniform, present myself as representing the state prison, and go along in the car with Benson and the 2 guards.
And where do you think you can find a uniform at this hour?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Oh, wait a minute. I've got a friend in the theatrical costuming business. He carries all kinds of uniforms. Oh, they're leaving the city jail with Benson at 9. Is that right?
Yes, we've got just about an hour. It's 10 of 8 now.
Okay, I'll call him.
Oh, the switchboard is closed, Mr. White. You'll have to dial the number.
Yeah, well, I remember it. Now, let's see. Metropolis 4873. I think that's it. M-E-4-8...
As Editor White attempts to contact his friend in the theatrical costume business, unaware that the hour of Henry Benson's departure from the city jail has been changed from 9 to 8, the car carrying Duke Renard and his 2 henchmen, Curly and Spud, turns off the Conway Turnpike and comes to a stop on a well-hidden wagon road.
Okay, this is fine. Shut off the motor.
What time is it, Duke?
Just 8.
Well, that means we got a good 40 minutes. It'll take them that long to get here.
Turn on the radio and get some music.
Mind if I cop a little snooze, Duke?
No, go ahead, Spud.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jack Ransom bringing you the latest up-to-the-minute news.
You want to hear the news, Duke?
Yeah, keep it on.
Metropolis. Local police and fire officials are trying to explain the cause of the mysterious blaze that leveled a 2-story frame house at 10th Street and Marlowe Avenue early this evening.
Hey, listen to that.
Shut up.
Police have been tipped off that the house was being occupied by Duke Renard, wanted for questioning in the Benson case. However, upon arrival, they found it in flames. Residents of the neighborhood reported to the police that they had seen a black sedan parked outside the house for more than an hour before the fire started. Police are in possession of the license number, but have not yet revealed the car's ownership. District Attorney Warren, in a statement issued at the scene of the fire, said he would order an investigation.
Hey, they got our license number, Duke. What do we do?
Turn that off.
Did you hear what he said?
I heard it.
I mean about the license number.
That's not what bothers me. He didn't say anything about Kent and White.
No, nothing at all.
They couldn't have gotten loose.
Well, no, not a chance.
But if they did, there'll be trouble.
What do you mean?
Kent knows we got Benson on the spot. If he tips the cops, we won't have a chance. There'll be a million of them following that car.
Well, what do we do?
Now, wait a minute. I gotta think.
I don't like mixing with cops. Not out here.
You won't have to mix with them. That bridge up ahead is a draw, isn't it?
It's a what?
A drawbridge. It opens up to let boats through.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, if it is, I got the answer. We can get Benson without even pulling a gun.
How?
I'll show you. Wake up, Spud.
What's the matter?
Drive the car across the bridge. Park off the road on the other side.
Okay.
What do you got up your sleeve, Duke?
You'll see. Take it easy, Spud. Keep your lights down.
Right.
Yeah, it's a drawbridge, all right. The kind that opens sideways. That suits me swell.
I don't get it, Duke.
Hold your horses. Okay, Spud, this is far enough. Pull off the road. Kill the motor. Turn the lights out. You stick with the car, Spud. Curly's coming with me.
What's the setup?
I'm gonna tell you. The car carrying Benson has got to cross this bridge to get to the state prison, see?
Yeah.
Well, instead of taking any chances on shooting it out with cops, we're gonna drop that car into the river.
Drop the car into the river? How?
See that little house back on the bridge on the right-hand side?
Yeah, I see it.
That's the bridge keeper's house. He's the guy who opens and shuts the draw when a boat goes through. Sometimes there's two guys, but it don't matter.
No, I still don't get it, Duke.
You got a head like a tack. We're gonna take over the bridge, and when the car with Benson in it comes rolling along, we'll open the bridge up and the car will drop into the river.
You sure are smart, Duke.
Yeah, and how?
If we handle it right, it won't matter how many cops are following that car. They won't even be able to cross the bridge because it'll be open and we can make an easy getaway.
Oh, that can't miss. There's only one thing.
What?
How we know which is Benson's car?
Two ways. Number one, it'll be a sheriff's car with a red light on it. Number two, we can figure the time. It left the jail at 8. That means it'll hit this bridge at about 8:40. Come on, we've got to work fast. Follow me, Curly. Keep your gun handy.
Right. I only see one guy in the house, Duke. He's an old geezer.
Yeah. I guess he's alone. Well, that makes it easier. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
We're not going to mess around with the guy in the house.
What do you mean?
We can't take any chances. He's liable to knock over a telephone or maybe press a button that'll jam the whole works.
So what do we do?
Slug him fast. I'll go in first and you sneak in behind me. Just tap him with the butt of your gun. Not too hard, but enough to put him to sleep.
Okay.
Come on. All right, here's the door. He's reading the magazine. This will be a cinch. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Good evening.
Let him have it, Curly.
Oh, he's out cold.
Good. Let's see how these levers work. This one's marked open, full speed. I guess that means the draw. Well, here goes.
Well, it doesn't look very hopeful with Duke Renaud in control of the drawbridge, and Clark Kent still under the impression that Henry Benson is to leave the city jail at 9 o'clock. Unless a miracle happens, a miracle that only Superman can create, Henry Benson is doomed. What will the outcome be, and who is the mysterious, unknown power behind Renaud? Listen to the smashing climax of this story in the next episode of Superman.
Don't forget, tune in again for the next thrilling episode with Superman.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
It's from 83 years ago today, August 27th, 1941, Superman, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And we'll have the next episode coming up on Thursday, which will be the final episode of the Dr. Roebling and the Voice Machine story. We'll get to a new one that will start on Saturday. All right, thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Tomorrow, The Shadow, Mystery in the Air, Have Gun Will Travel, Gunsmoke, and Blackstone the Magic Detective. And then we'll hear from that's Wednesday. Thursday, The Great Gildersleeve, George and Gracie, Pete Kelly's Blues, X-1, and Superman. Friday, Fibber McGee and Molly, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, It Pays to Be Ignorant, an episode of Dimension X, and Claudia. And then Saturday, oh my gosh, yes, we've got lots of fun coming up, as we'll have an episode of the Stan Freberg Show, the Jack Kirkwood Show, Matinee with Bob and Ray, and the Magnificent Montague. That's all straight ahead. Visit our webpage, classicradio.stream, and to support the show. Have yourself a great day. For Classic Radio Theater, I'm Wyatt Cox.